Welcome to the Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. As the amendments to the open meeting law allow, the Conservation Commission may continue to hold meetings remotely. Adequate alternative access to the meetings is provided through this Zoom link. As usual, please continue to check the updated city calendar and posted agendas for meeting times and locations. At some point, we do anticipate going back to a hybrid meeting, but I think the next meeting will probably be remote as well at this point. But please continue to check those sources for information. We'll start with a roll call. Commissioners. Member Charpentier.
Here.
Member Cook. Member Gradwell. Member Sargent.
Here.
Member Thierry.
Here.
Member Gullah.
Here.
And Member Jackson.
Here.
Okay. Like we have a quorum and we will move ahead. First up, administrative briefing. Anything to pop in, or do you want to use that as an opportunity to check off some continuations, Chuck?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. We have had some interviews for an assistant, so hopefully we will be filling that position soon. Definitely can use the help in the office, so keep you all posted on that. And we've had several continuations that weren't previously continued, so I'll read through those now for folks that are here for those. You don't need to stay for the entire meeting. NOI 0282976 for 171 and 281 Rear Magnolia Ave. They have requested to continue to the meeting of September 18th, 2024. NOI 0282981 for 139 Winger Sheep Road has requested to continue to September 18th, 2024. NOI 0283005 for 4 River Road has requested to continue to the meeting of October 9th, 2024. NOI 0283016 for 6 Julian Road has requested to continue to the meeting of October 9th, 2024. NOI 028, no number assigned yet, for 3 Kirk Road has requested to continue to October 9th, 2024. NOI 0283021 for 19 and 23 Biskie Head Road. They have requested to continue to October 9th, 2024. That is it for what I have for now.
Okay. That's good, Chuck. Thank you very much. Next up would obviously be the public comment period. This is the period where the public is welcome to speak towards conservation issues, but again, only items that are not, I repeat, not on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to speak, you can do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 33 attendees and there are no hands up at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. We have some pending minutes for review and approval for obvious reasons. We will be continuing those at a later date. Next up would be right into the first, caught in the middle again. All right, so we're up to notice intent 0282950 158R 154A Essex Avenue Upper Banjo LLC. That was continued as well, correct?
That was, yes,
previously continued to September 18th.
Next up is notice of intent 0283006 105 Wingashiek Road 125 Wingashiek LLC. That also is continued, previously continued to 9/18/2024. And we drop into, I might put this in back. So what's up next? Notice of intent 028301007.
3007, yeah.
125 Wingashiek LLC. They are also previously continued to September the 9/18/2024. And we have next is RDA 1113 Harbor Loop Drive. Evan Parker, use of a hose and utilities in harbor waterfront for distillery in designated port area, land under the ocean, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Evan Parker here to represent himself.
If he is promoting now to panelist.
Can you hear us, Evan?
Yeah. Can I hear? Are you there?
Yeah. Address for the record, please,
Evan Parker,
and your address.
12 Mill Road, Ipswich, Massachusetts. I can't get the video going.
That's okay.
Okay.
Or something.
Yep. Join as a panelist. Is that what I do?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. Are you promoting yourself? Is that what we're doing here?
It's it says he's promoted, but he's still showing up in the attendees portion rather than the panelist portion.
How you doing, Evan? Any luck?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
It just kicks me off every time. I don't know why. So
You need video, or can you do this by talking?
I can do this by talking. I'm just here to see if you guys are gonna approve the RDA.
Okay, I guess we had some concerns about that RDA last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did you move forward with anything? Get anything resolved?
Yeah, just the Division Marine Fisheries. I think Chuck has the email. They said as long as I stay within 5 degrees of the intake temperature, then they're okay with it.
Okay, anything to add to that, or
What's that?
anything to add to that? What Evan's saying?
No, yeah, no, that is yeah, that is what they responded with. There was some questions, about the there weren't any plans submitted for actually showing where the location of the pipe will be attached to the
Hose
underside
band?
of the pier there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
then
I
there's also-
spoke with DEP Waterways today, and I have to go and get all those architect engineering designs anyways on the building, and we will figure out the best location of where to put that. Obviously, the further away from the any shellfish or anything that will affect the better. So we're working with that, and so I have to go through all that stuff. But this is the next step. As soon as I get the RDA, if possible, then I can move on to doing that. I might not. I met with MEPA office yesterday, and I might be able to avoid the ENF.
Oh, okay.
So with this RDA, they Tori Kim, I believe she's like the head of MEPA office, and she said because I'm under 20,000 gallons per day, that I probably don't meet the threshold to go for any NEF, and I can go right for the chapter 91 WDO number 1.
Okay. I'm gonna
So,
open the
what's that?
I'm gonna open this up to public comment. Make
Sure.
sure no one in the public has some concerns or questions. So just sit back for a minute.
Yep.
So if anybody in the public wishes to speak for or against the RDA at 11 to 13 Harbor Loop Drive, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
we currently have 34 attendees and 1 hand up at the moment. Mortellaro Lobster.
Hello, Mr. Mortellaro? Or Ms.
Hi, Mr. Gullah, my name is Patty Page and I'm representative of Modelar Lobster. I appreciate the opportunity. I didn't know there'd be any public comment taken. We own the lobster company directly across from this property. So I've never met, I think it was Evan Parker, but we would like to, I don't even know how to present this. You know, we draw water from that harbor directly across from them for our lobster tanks. So I'm not, you know, we're not familiar with this process. We don't, you know, I'm not saying we have objections, but I think we just like to be involved in the information planning of this. Maybe Mr. Parker and Mr. Modelaro can speak to this, but from a conservation standpoint, I just think that the commission should know the kind of seafood activity that goes on in the area. If I understand correctly, his process is a closed process, so it won't be discharging anything into the harbor, but I think, you know, maybe we can find out those things. You have that confirmed somehow? And
Well, at this point, I mean, fellow members can jump in, but at this point, Evan's pretty early in the process, it sounds like. I would suggest that we continue this and give Evan a chance to, and you as a butter, I'm guessing, talk this through. What Evan's, it seems to me to be relatively harmless, but I don't have my ears and eyes on the ground that much on that particular area of the harbor. So yeah, I think it would behoove both of you to just have a quick conversation, and I think it'll get resolved. Either way, Mr. Parker still has a bit more to do and go through. So I think there's time while that process is going on for Mortellaro and Parker to possibly sit down and have a cup of coffee and just let everyone know what's going on with their particular business. That make sense?
fair enough, yes. I just wanted the opportunity was there that put on record that, you know, there's other activity in that port, in that direct area. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else to add, Evan? Commissioner?
Yeah, I don't know if she knows the process. I'll be drawing about maybe 2 gallons a minute, and the water is going to come in at the harbor temperature, and it's going to cool down. And then I'm going to put it in a tank and cool it back down to the harbor water temperature, and then release it at probably about 2-3 gallons in a minute at the most. There'll be no toxins in the water. It won't come in contact with any air in the building. Everything will be a complete closed system, and I don't know how else to explain it. And I want to know where is the lobster business?
We're not here to tell you where things are. You have to.
Oh, okay. Because I was just, you know, the abutters are the building center and the U.S. Coast Guard, so I'm not aware of where the business is. So I didn't even know anything. What's that?
They probably don't know where you are either. That's why I'm all trying to figure out who's who and where you're going to be.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. But Chuck, you want to go through commissioner roll call comments and see if they
Sure.
have.
Member Charpentier.
I don't have any comments about the project, but I do recommend that the abutter of Modellaro go onto the Gloucester Concom website and you know, or contact you, Chuck, and get copies of the submittal and read about the project, because the information is all there. That's it.
Member Sargent.
I'd like there to make sure that the intake and outtake, you know, pipes, you know, are no nearer than 4 feet from the substrate at mean low water.
Yeah, I just have the DMF conditions, suggested conditions apply. I have a question about how the exit water temperature will be measured and monitored. And I'll just acknowledge Shellfish's comments that they wanted to see the different pipe and plumbing locations and make clear that they're not signing off on the aquaculture component. And I don't think that we are considering the aquaculture component, and that is a separate phase of the project that I think will have to come back in front of us. And I think the applicant acknowledged last time he was in front of us that that was a phase two that he would submit at a later date. So I just want to be clear that this is for the there's no aquaculture component under that I'm considering at least.
Bella
Nothing further.
and Member Jackson.
Nothing additional.
Okay, so I get the feeling, Evan, we're gonna probably have to continue this for more information unless, Chuck, you think there's even a reason that we can at this time push this forward.
And that's up to you.
Okay,
You know, if the butters, you know, I mean, it's submitted as an RDA, so there was no butter notification, but it sounds like there's a butters that are now becoming aware of it and wanting to be able to review this and possibly have input. So it's up to you if you want to proceed.
yeah, I would push forward, Evan, and just try and make contact with a few of the neighbors. I know you said the building center, but I would just communicate with the Motoraros if you can. Just try, because it looks
Yeah.
like more information anyways, so we're going to be continuing no matter what. It's
Okay, so,
luckily our next meeting is only a week away.
yeah, so can I be put on that meeting since everybody has all the, you know, all the information? And I will definitely talk to the abutter. I don't have a problem with that at all. Last thing I want to do is hurt any shellfish or marine species. As a commercial, you know, clamor myself, I don't want to see anything. And to respond to Dave, I absolutely want to keep this water, as you know, the intake and the outflow as far away from the sediment as possible. So,
And I would just like to clarify that we don't have all the information. We're still waiting for specific plans on the intake and outtake.
yeah, that comes along with the, I have to do all that engineering stuff for the Chapter 91 anyways.
Right.
And to move forward, they would like to see the RDA, and same with MIPA, because it doesn't seem like I have to go with the MIPA. The ENF process, if you guys sign off on the RDA, and I can get right into Chapter 1 and start spending the money on an engineer, because it's not going to be cheap, you know. So I have all the interior of the building done. I just got to go. I was holding off until the RDA.
But we can't do the RDA without all the information. It's kind of a catch-22 here.
Okay, so I can't.
Yeah, why don't we just, but yeah, tonight we're not gonna be able to vote on it, but Chuck, do we have room in the next agenda for the next game?
Yep.
So why don't you, we're gonna continue you, Evan, and again, the next meeting's a week, so get you on there and you bring more information to us by then.
And now, sorry, what specific information are you looking for? Now I'm more confused than anything. You know, because I was gonna let the everybody determine where they want the pipes.
Yeah, we
You know, I
can't,
need the pipes, but I need to know what information you are absolutely looking for.
I think it's engineered drawings on the plumbing on the exterior to show the intake and outflow locations. That's the principal one.
And also,
That's all I'm
No.
seeing for plans.
So that's probably
No.
gonna take months, I guess. You know, I mean, you know, I can try. I don't know how an engineer is gonna get down there and do everything that fast. If they're gonna be done for the, you know, the Chapter 91. And if they won't approve it, then I don't know, then that's no good. You know, everybody's gonna get the information all at the same time, I guess. I don't know. I'm just,
why don't we do this, Evan? Do what you
Yeah.
can next week. We'll push
Okay.
the agenda. If we can help you, then we will. But at this point in time, I think we're just gonna have to push you along, see what you can get, talk to your neighbors, try and at least get some of these things done. But we
Okay.
do it blind. We have to have more information. That's
Okay.
Yeah, and member Materi also had the question about how you're going to be able to determine the temperature of the outflow water. I think that's a,
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have some sensors on that and everything. Yeah, no, I need to have the intake to find out what you know what I mean? I have to have the temperature coming in to find out what the temperature is gonna be going out. So
that's one
obviously-
right there that we need to know.
Okay.
The things we have to need to know. Fortunately, we know that this is going to impact the resource. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
so we'll see you in a week.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue RDA 1808 at 11 to 13 Harbor Loop Drive to the Conservation Commission meeting of September 18th.
Sharpen, 2 seconds.
we'll call member Charpentier,
Yes,
member Sargent,
Yes,
member Materi,
Yes.
member Bella,
Yes.
member Jackson.
Yes,
Okay, we'll see you in a week.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, RDA 1809, 20 Walnut Street, Squam Rock Land Trust, invasive species removal, installation of native plantings and bordering vegetative wetland, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and buffer zone to coastal bank.
Commissioner Sargent recuses.
Okay,
I don't think you can see me. How do I?
we can, I don't think we necessarily need, if voice only works, that's fine.
Oh.
there-
There I am. Okay. Hi.
oh, there you are.
Yeah.
rest of the record.
I'm Aroa Skank, a trustee of the Squam Rock Land Trust. I'm one of them. There's 3.
So for the record, so a brief description, but I'll just jump ahead and say, I went out there, I'm completely fine with this. I had a completely misconstrued thought of what was happening there. And it's, for me, it's fine. I think Linda was there as well, but
it was.
first, I just want to get that out before I forget. So explain what you're planning.
Okay. The Squam Rock Land Trust is a 12-acre parcel of land on Walnut Street, purchased in 1935 in order to prevent development of the property. And today it continues to provide the residents of Annisquam a natural space to enjoy and a way to access the ocean. Like many landscapes, invasive plants have taken root and have been spreading, and we want to check that. And because they're going to outcompete our native plants that sustain the health and biodiversity of the natural communities present on the property. And also climate changes such as drier spells followed by heavy rains have also caused erosion in some of the steeper paths on the property. So to better understand how to manage these issues, we contracted a representative from Mass Audubon to assess the property and come up with a plan for preserving and regenerating the land. We're cognizant that some of the areas in which we need to remove invasive plants fall within wetland zones. So we are asking for a negative determination of applicability, which will allow us to move forward with the Audubon recommendations in those areas. The Audubon plan was sent to you along with the RDA and a more abbreviated version that summarizes exactly where and what work is planned. This project will be done by volunteers, and it will take many years to reduce the area of invasive species on the property, and then a lifetime to continue to control them. So we've created a committee dedicated to this purpose, and we'll continue to get expert advice throughout this process. And we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. First up, a little more public comment. Does anybody in the public care to speak for or against the RDA at 20 Walnut Street, Squam Rock Land Trust? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 38 attendees and there are no hands up at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I close the public comment period. Commissioner roll call comments?
Member Charpentier,
I did the site visit and that definitely convinced me that this is a great project. I'm for it.
Thank you.
Member Viteri,
No comments.
Member Gullah,
I agree with Linda, yes. Good
and
project.
Member Jackson.
No comments. Okay, if we're ready to move forward, Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1809 at 20 Walnut Street. Were there any conditions that have been mentioned? I know we talked about replacing trees 2 to 1. And they were only going to remove some 30 Norway maples greater than 6 inches.
Correct, I think that's,
Correct.
That was it? Okay. All right. Do we hear a second?
Charpentier, seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
You're all set?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Look.
Oh, I forgot
Thank
to close
you.
the hearing.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1809 at 20 Walnut Street.
Charpentier, seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Okay, now you're all said.
Okay, great. Thank you. All
Thank
right, have a
you.
good night.
You too.
For
Welcome,
the record, Commissioner Sargent returns.
welcome back. Okay, next up is another RDA. This one, I mean, yeah, this one's not continued, correct?
Yes,
RDA,
request to continue to September 18th.
they are continued.
Yes.
All right.
We have to move it though.
Yeah. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282976 at 171 and 281 Rear Magnolia Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of September 18th.
Linda? Oh, Q.
Do we have another second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Looks like Linda got moved to the attendees, so she should be returning.
That was weird. Kind of bit of a weird start tonight.
Yeah.
Most of it's due to me. Here she comes.
Back, at least in voice.
Okay, Linda.
I don't know what you did there, Chuck, but you did it.
Uh-oh. All right, where are we now? Now I'm lost.
139 Winger Shake. And they have also requested to continue to September 18th. Want me to just go ahead?
Just plow through all these whenever they come up, please.
Okay, NOI 0282981 at 139 Wingershik Road. Ernest Herman has requested to continue to September 18th, 2024. And Commissioner Jackson so moves.
And Charpentier, seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, next up is motion to 10-028-3004 River Road.
They've also requested to continue to October 9th. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283005 at 4 River Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th.
Charpentier, seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, next up is amendment 0282958, 1 Salt Island Road, John Paul Mattetti, amendment for notice of intent of 0282958 to include repair and replacement of existing seawall structure and land subject to coastal storm flowage, buffer zone to coastal beach, coastal dune. Chase Bernier of Swacker Environmental Consultants represent.
I'm not seeing Chase, but John Paul Martinetti is joining as panelist.
There he is. Name and address for the record, sir. Can't hear you.
Unmute.
Sorry about that. John Paul Martinetti, on behalf of One Salt Island Road LLC, 304 Cambridge Road in Woburn. Good evening, everybody. And also with us is Meredith Bornstein from SWCA. We're back before you this evening on the topic of our retaining wall at the property line for the existing order of conditions at One Salt Island Road. As we previously discussed, in the midst of our process and seeing this past winter and the conditions, we have a need to repair and or replace the retaining wall that's there. We had some questions coming out of the last meeting, which we've made efforts to try to address. We did send along an updated cross-section of the wall to Chuck a couple weeks back now, reflecting after seeing the request for a curvature at the wall. We spoke with our structural engineer and came up with a slanted top section of wall to help send those waves backwards versus the upward projection of just a plain vertical wall. And then in the midst of this process, I actually had a chance to speak with one of our neighbors who expressed some concern over some of the existing features of the existing wall at the backside on the south side of the property. So we submitted a revised plan thereafter, which Chuck should have, and I hope you folks have, but I can share with you in a screen share as well. And we've taken the staircase that's on the south side of the site, and we're requesting to effectively push it backwards into our site so that it's contained within the retaining wall as opposed to protruding from the retaining wall as it does today. So I'm happy to show you those plans and certainly answer any questions if that works for you.
Sure. First, I'll open up for public comment. If anybody in the public wishes to speak for or against the project at One Salt Island Road, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 40 attendees and there's one hand up. Jane Knott, couple hands up. Jane Knott is first.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Jane Knott. I live at 29 Salt Island Road, and I'm a hydrologist and a climate scientist. And I'd like to express my concerns regarding the request to amend the order of conditions at One Salt Island Road. This request is to repair and or reconstruct and raise the seawall at Good Harbor Beach Inn. Two reasons why the proposed work should receive further analysis before approval are: number one, some of the proposed work and all the adjacent beach and dune to the west of the project are within the NHESP, the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program Priority Habitat of Rare Species, which is a crucial ecosystem that demands our utmost care and attention with respect to the potential impact of the proposed work. It's important to note that the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act and its implementing regulations require applicants with projects and activities within the state-listed species habitats to file with the NHESP for review and approval before project initiation. This is a crucial step to ensure that the project complies with the law and doesn't harm the local ecosystem. Projects and activities that are subject to review include, among other activities, the construction or reconstruction of seawalls or retaining walls, and the installation of drainage systems. The application states that the proposed project is repairing and reconstructing a seawall with drainage weep holes and conveyances in the wall. Mr. Martinetti stated at a previous meeting that it is a retaining wall. Either way, an NHESP review is needed. The application also states that the endangered species permission was granted as part of the application for the renovation. However, this is incorrect. The Massachusetts Division of Fish and Wildlife their letter dated October 24, 2023 states that, quote, replacement or maintenance of the concrete wall or seawall is not a component of the application and therefore is not approved herein, end quote. They further state that the project may be subject to further review if the original proposal is changed. The other concern that I have is that the proposal states that the project is within a buffer zone of a protected area. This is also incorrect. The retaining wall or seawall is a coastal bank, which is a protected resource area, marked by the proponent's engineer in attachment B of the application. A coastal bank is defined as the seaward face or side of any elevated landform other than a coastal dune, which lies at the landward edge of a coastal beach, land subject to tidal action or other wetland. The coastal bank is a designated resource area in the Wetlands Protection Act. Repairing or reconstructing a retaining wall in a coastal bank in Massachusetts requires the filing of a notice of intent. The work must not substantially change, alter, or enlarge the existing structure. This project proposes to raise the wall's top elevation approximately 4 feet, from 10.3 feet to 14 feet in the FEMA high velocity wave zone. The FEMA VE flood elevation is 17 feet, 3 feet higher than the proposed wall top elevation. Consequently, this wall is vulnerable to repeated damage. Powerful waves and floodwaters will also be deflected by the wall and channeled into the adjacent beach, dunes, endangered species habitat, also Witham Street and adjacent properties. The City of Gloucester's Conservation Commission represents the community's first line of defense in responsible coastal zone management. Per the Wetlands Protection Act and the Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance, other options should be considered before repairing and raising the seawall. Seawalls result in beach erosion and beach habitat destruction caused by wave action and reflection. Sea level rise is accelerating and extreme storm frequency and intensity are increasing. Coastal communities up and down the coast ask seawall proponents to consider other options that accommodate water and dissipate wave energy rather than building barriers that obstruct water flow. In planning, we ask that the proponents seek alternatives that accommodate rising sea levels and maximize the resilience of the resource areas, the proposed renovated inn, and the surrounding properties. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, Chuck?
Sorry, I muted myself. We do have some additional hands up. The next one up is Duncan Todd.
Thank you very much. My name is Duncan Todd, 4 Salt Island Road in Gloucester. I first want to thank Dr. Knott for bringing forward the issues that she's brought forward. My concern is 2, and I'll be brief. One is where the water goes that makes it over the top of the wall in heavy events. My concern that it does not get directed onto the paved portion of Witham Street, as happens when we have large storm events. My second concern is the materials that are going to be used behind the seawall. In past years, when the wall has been overtopped and the back has been scoured out, pea stone, which has been put there by the previous owner and the current owner as well, has made its way onto the beach. And now the sand on the beach is contaminated by the pea stone which has washed off this property. Thank you very much.
Next.
Next up is Mark Farber.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your service to the commission.
Record, sir. Name and address.
You can hear me okay?
We can hear you. We need your name and address for the record.
My apologies. Mark Farber, F like Frank, ARBER, 28 Salt Island Road here in town.
Good to go.
And I am speaking with concern about the integrity of the beach and its environs, as well as the at-risk species involved adjacent to the proposal. And I want to reference Dr. Knott's testimony you just heard, her expert testimony, and think other considerations by the applicant need to be brought forward in order to mitigate any potential environmental damage. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another hand up, the Development Institute. Oops.
Now I can hear you.
Can you hear my voice?
I can. Can you give me your name and address?
Yes, I apologize for
Name
the
and
type.
address.
Excuse me.
Name and address.
Yes, my name is Denton Cruz, Crews, at 45 Old Nugent Farm. And I apologize for the name of Development Institute, which is our software. But my position is, for over a decade, representing the Friends of Good Harbor, as the founder and president of that group. And while we've been involved in many enhancements for the beach, the marsh, and the studies and so forth, and the road walk and so forth, we particularly have been stimulated recently by the report that Town Green has produced in conjunction with the Cape Ann Climate Coalition, and the impact on this area of Good Harbor of any project that is of development, and particularly in this area and right on the beach, is targeted in this report. The report has been produced under Town Green and Cape Ann Climate Coalition by the Harvard Graduate School of Design over a 3-year period. And it's about to be, it is released, but not many people have read it because it's 800 pages long. And I've been through it page by page, and it addresses Cape Ann climate change as a case study, Essex, Rockport, Manchester, and Gloucester, including downtown, and singles out in whole areas of this report, the Good Harbor area. And in particular, it singles out the areas or rooms of nature, the beach and dunes, the whole salt marsh, the coastal bank, which is the rocky island and the rocky coastline, assesses each of these, the wetlands, and of course, the whole watershed behind it, including areas like the East Gloucester shopping plaza and Saratoga Creek. And because it has so much to say in the form of assessment and also recommendations in it, I would like to suggest to the Conservation Commission respectfully that as a part of this review process of the notice of intent, that there be an examination of the impact of this report from Town Green and Cape Ann Coalition with regard to this particular project, because this particular project is such an example of that edge between wanting to do the right thing for property owners and their improvements, and at the same time for nature and for future generations and for this resource. So my point here is to suggest that in order to approve the NOI, the Conservation Commission require an additional submission of an independent science-based assessment of the impact of the new seawall on the beach environment and its surroundings in the context of this Town Green Harvard Graduate School report and their findings related to Good Harbor Beach, and not the beach only, but the entire beach and marsh area as a vulnerable ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew Knott's hand is up again, if we want to allow him to talk again.
You're gonna have to be brief. We have a tight window. Tight agenda. Mr. Knott?
Yes,
There.
can you hear me now?
Keep it brief.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. I have a short statement to read. And I live at 29 Salt Island Road. My name is Andrew Knott. And I've lived on Salt Island Road for over 60 years, first as a summer resident and now as a year-round resident. I have been involved in various manufacturing and construction ventures all my life. I have seen how sea level rise has changed this immediate area. In years past, on the private end of Good Harbor Beach, there was a 40 to 80 foot buffer of dry sand at high tide. Now at high tide, there is little to no beach. This past winter, on 3 occasions, both Thatcher Road and Witham Street were flooded. Only a vehicle with 2 feet or more of clearance could pass. A small car attempting to pass would have been swept into the marsh. The city closed the roads. Witham Street was completely flooded and Thatcher Road was flooded approximately 500 feet east of Witham Street. Due to climate change, these storms are only going to get more frequent and severe.
Lost him.
I don't know what happened to him, Chuck.
I don't know. I mean, it's not showing that his speaker's turned off, so.
The area would be sand and dunes, just like it was 125 years ago, before the hotel was built. And if a developer applied to build a structure on that site now, the project would likely be denied because we now know that beaches and dunes are natural systems subject to migration. The City of Gloucester and the Conservation Commission need to take a forward-looking approach to development with the understanding of what is happening now and what will happen in the future, not just at this site, but in other sites around the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, Chuck? And if there are, we're gonna have to put time limits because we can't do this all.
We do have a hand popping up and down for Gail Smith, but it's not currently up. I'm not sure if Gail wants to speak. And it's back up for Gail and back down. Gail, if you would like to speak, please leave your hand up.
The hand is up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Gail.
Okay, my name is Gail Smith at 44 Salt Island Road. We've owned the property for 80 years and I'm going to be 80 this year, so that's a coincidence. I'd like to point out 2 things. The first is, if I'm correct, if you look at the plans show Witham Street extending onto the beach adjacent to the west wall. This is not accurate, and the commission should visit the site to understand the layout. So I respectfully request, have you visited this particular area?
Multiple times.
Good. Well, I've just passed that line if that's helpful. The second thing, is the goal of the new construction is to enhance that area and the property. And I just point out that in that enhancement, it may create the reverse effects. So please be mindful of that. And again, thank you for your service.
You.
There are no other hands up at this time.
All right, so you're up, Mr. Martinetti.
We did have another one pop up though.
You know what? There may have been some confusion. Though the retaining wall is not being built on Salt Island, it's being built on Salt Island Road. All right, so I guess I'm going to defer to Meredith on the two questions that Ms. Knott had regarding the natural heritage. That is her court. I just want to be clear on the context of what is being proposed. And I guess to that end, I'd like to get back to reviewing the revised drawing. So am I able to share my screen and do so?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so are you able to see the plan here?
Yeah.
So changes from the last time that you saw this plan before you. Nothing has changed here on the easterly side. On the southerly side of the site, we neglected to highlight this section of wall that currently exists. And as you can see here, where there's these gray stairs, these are existing concrete stairs entering the beach. Again, to address the concern of a neighbor, we've pulled those stairs back into the site. So effectively, all of the work would be happening back here. We're not proposing to use the stairs that exist today. And that's just, for consistency of the site, if we're doing the work here to pull those stairs inboard. Now, I know Member Sargent had asked whether or not we'd be able to do something with the existing stairs up on the Witham Street side of the road. At this point in time, given that this is our only public access onto the public beach, it's our preference to leave those in place. They do serve as a resource to us. However, limited traffic they have, and substantially less now without the snack bar. We would like to leave them in place, and it also gives us the option of not working as closely to that identified dune area up in this region. So it's our preference to just stay away from this end and to retain those stairs as they exist today. So I wanted to mention that because I know that was a topic of discussion at the last meeting. Now, as it relates to the height of the wall, I've got a photograph here just to get a better understanding of what's there. As you can see, this is the south-facing stair that I just mentioned. It's our intent to rebuild this stair inside of the site up in this area. In terms of the height of the wall and the increasing height of the wall, this is a portion of the wall as it exists today. On the west side of the site, we have a similar height wall as well. The section in between, there was wall there in the past that was removed. And when I say removed, it was knocked over. It was not built with structural integrity. And so it was knocked into the site at some point in the past. Modern day construction and code compliant construction will give us the opportunity to build a wall that will not face those structural challenges of what was built in the past. Loose poured concrete, unreinforced. So in an effort to address the concerns of the commission as it related to the wall design, we've taken what was previously a straight design and added an 18-inch 45-degree bend to the top in an effort to curl the waves backwards. This design was based off of some photographs that we found in the package that was sent over on recommendations on things that you can do with seawalls. So we took it to heart and looked at it and said, what can we do that's not substantially different than what's there today, in an effort to address that wave action and have it curl backwards. In terms of existing elevation, we're asking to add in the lowest point on the wall, so in the existing lowest point on the wall as it exists today, 3.5 feet, which is 42 inches. In some portions of the wall, that's as little as 4 inches. So really, it's not the entire wall. Request is to go up 3'6". It's a portion of the wall. And as we discussed on our initial site walk, when we were doing the original NOI, there was concerns over erosion and scour. And after this past winter, that is really what this redesign is to address. So the comment regarding for Mr. Todd regarding scour ending up on the beach, we're making an effort to stop that, to resolve that, to keep contents on site. We're not looking to backfill behind this section of increased height. We're looking to leave this open. The wall's been structurally designed to do that. So we're not looking to increase scour. We're looking to reduce scour that ends up on the beach. So really the intent of this project is protection and integrity. This is not in an effort to push wave action in any other direction. This is not in an effort to, create a moat of sorts. This is really an effort to protect what's there, to replace what's there. And at this point in time, this is really our only opportunity to do it. Once the site is constructed and it is being constructed, we're not going to have the chance to go back and do this unless it was done from the beach side. And that's just not something we're interested in pursuing for a host of reasons. So, we ask that that you review what we've put before you. Questions regarding national heritage, I'm going to defer to Meredith on. I do know that we received their original letter, so I will defer to her.
Yeah, thank you, John Paul. Meredith Borenstein, SWCA Environmental Consultants. We filed the the original notice of intent and then this amended order just for the replacement of an existing retaining wall that they have updated the drawings to comply with the coastal zone management recommendations. So as far as the natural heritage issue, the site, a very small corner of the site, and I can show you the map, is mapped as natural heritage. So with the original notice, we filed the notice of intent with them. They issued a no-take letter. It does state in that letter that part of that project was not to replace the retaining wall. So we have an email into them making sure that this project is in compliance with the no-take letter that they issued. And because this is an amendment, but in my opinion, I know that the plovers are mapped throughout that whole area. I don't believe the plovers would nest on the retaining wall, but they do nest in other places. So we'll have to just wait to hear back from Heritage to see if it's still a no-take. They may issue a no-take letter with some conditions. They may update their letter. I wouldn't think it would be an issue because it's an existing wall that is just being enhanced and replaced. As far as, I think somebody brought up resource areas, the retaining wall is considered the coastal bank, but it is an existing retaining wall. And I do believe the project would meet the performance standards listed for coastal bank because it's an existing wall and it's being replaced by another wall that is going to be higher and compliant with the coastal zone management requirements. So I believe the performance standards will still be met. No other resources will be impacted by replacing the retaining wall in kind. So they're not touching the coastal dune that's nearby, which is very important for the plovers. And they are not filling any more than it's already filled within the land subject to coastal zone flowage. So I think this project does meet the performance standards and the intent of the Wetlands Protection Act. The only thing I would would hold off on is just making sure that it's still a no take under natural heritage.
So I
That's all I
think that final statement, you're gonna have to continue to the next meeting, correct? Do you get that letter? Are you actually?
Yeah, they'll probably respond by email within a
Alright,
week
so
or so.
you just amendment for the next meeting, which is a week.
Okay, you guys are meeting next?
Yeah, we had a whole flip flop of things that
I was,
happened.
okay. So 9/18.
Correct.
Is there anything else we should address? Any other questions?
Roll call comments, Chuck?
Yep. Member Charpentier?
I have not heard that expression of a no-take letter. So if you could just, after the comments, explain what that is, that would be helpful. I've not heard that before.
Member Sargent?
Yes, just to be clear, and I want to thank Mr. Martinetti for all the work he's done, and I understand where he's coming from. But the wall is not being replaced in kind, it's being raised a bit. And potentially at sometimes it could be more reflective energy from wave action, and this might cause some sand to be transported and potentially cause more beach erosion. And this is important because according to DEP's policy 85.4, which states that NOI may be amended only if the changes don't increase impacts or potentially create impacts to the resource area. So I'm wondering if there should be an NOI, and then that would allow natural heritage to pipe in, on what's happening. No pun intended by saying piping.
Member Terry?
Yeah, thanks for adding the curved wall design. I know that was one of the kind of recommended design features that dissipates wave energy. I was wondering if you explored putting a rough surface on the outside of the wall as well, to achieve the same purpose. And second comment is I do think we need to wait for NHESP as well. And thank you for offering to wait for that, but I do think we need to continue until we get feedback from them on this.
Member Gullo?
No further comments at this time.
Member Jackson?
No, I also appreciate the curvature of the wall at the top. And it's my understanding you're not going to be having vehicles on the beach and not expanding the footprint. The plovers, I think, are unlikely to nest on the wall. They have not to this point, but they nested in the parking lot one time. But the beach traffic to and from that way, or through that way, is likely to discourage them, I think, and I have not known of them to nest in front on the south side of the property. I have no further comments.
Okay, so that's it. So unless you want to just a quick follow-up, Mr. Martinetti, before we continue, or Chuck, did you want to add?
Member Sargent brought up a good point. The original order of conditions only allows for impacts to land subject to coastal storm flowage. This activity is, probably going to impact coastal bank, and also create additional impacts to land subject to coastal storm flowage. So there's going to be additional area that is not covered in the order conditions, and I think it, might require a separate NOI filing. Just, I've seen DEP kick stuff back, when the impact area is increased. I also agree, natural heritage does need to chime in on this, but I think there also might need to be a flood path analysis, to see how this new heightened wall may impact, other resources on the beach. It may impact how flows are channelized along the edge towards Witham Street. So I think there are other potential impacts, that having a flood path analysis, might help tease out. But I do think the commission should consider the idea of whether or not this is appropriate as an amendment or should be a separate NOI.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Mr. Martinetti, anything to add?
No, I guess I have more questions than answers at this point. And I'd really like to get an understanding from the commission on, I guess, direction in light of those comments. And much of the reason for that is it may impact significantly timeline or whether or not we're able to proceed. So I'd like to get an understanding of what the wishes of the commission are in terms of direction, to understand what it is that we need to do.
Okay, I think the biggest one's going to be is the potential for a notice of intent. Just because it seems like things over time have triggered other things. Unfortunately, this happens not all the time, not a lot of time, but it does happen. So that's your choice, but it could be frowned upon by the commission. Other than that, it seems like we really just have to worry about the plumber issue as it relates. And lastly, whether or not you would be willing to do some of these other studies people recommended relative to the project at hand, which is the seawall, or the repair of the seawall, I should say. And obviously we have to rate for heritage. Is that enough direction, or do you need more details?
I just, so, you know, I like to leave with a course of action, I guess. So I'm trying to, I guess, best understand, is it the position of the commission that we should be filing a separate NOI? Or are there a list of items that we should consider pursuing in order to hopefully be able to, including National Heritage, you know, take action at the next meeting?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if it's possible, I think a conversation with DEP as to whether an NOI is indicated would be helpful. And in terms of the flow path analysis,
I spoke to DEP about this, and they indicated that they thought it probably should be a separate NOI.
Okay.
Could I ask a question about that? Because I feel like we're gonna end up in the same place. Like, amended notice of intent is we're not gonna be submitting anything different. We have filed the amended notice with the updated plans and drawings. Even if there's additional impacts, you can address that in the order, and we can write a memo expressing how the current project meets the performance standards. So we're gonna end up, it's all the same information. So I just feel like it will really set us back to file a whole new notice. We're gonna, the abutters have been notified, the legal ad, we could just keep continuing until we get all the information that you folks need to feel comfortable to permit this. But I think filing a new notice, and I'm happy to reach out to DEP too and get their opinion, would really set back the project as far as time goes. And we're gonna end up, this is the same conversation. There's no different conversation that will happen. So just give that a thought, and we can come back next week and update folks on what Natural Heritage says. Just for the member that was curious about, the no-take letter from Natural Heritage means that they reviewed the project, the original notice, and they issued a no-take letter, which means this project does not impact a state listed species. So we have a letter saying that, and then we're gonna wait for them to follow up and say this new project, this new retaining wall design, we have to wait for them to pipe back in and say whether it impacts a state listed species or not, and they'll probably update their letter. They could include time of year restrictions. They could also just say, yeah, this is a no take because it's an existing wall being put back to an existing wall in the same location. We'll get that in writing from them and I'll copy Chuck on the correspondence with that, so he'll be up to speed. I just think that this is going to be the same conversation if we file. It's just not going to change anything, so please consider that when we're requesting a notice. We can update the DEP form, resubmit that to the commission and DEP, and the order will get updated with the correct square footage and all that. So I just think the permitting path is the same, so I don't know why we would file a new notice. So,
well, we are concerned, obviously, about this space. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Martinetti's his group has done a great job of keeping us posted, walking us through the project, the site. We're asking for a few items that I think are important as a commission. Again, the two big ones being basically checking in to make sure that this doesn't require yet another authority, that we can say, okay, they said it's okay to go move ahead with this. And, you know, I think to dot your i's and cross your t's in the next week, maybe we can push this through. But right now, there's just too many loose threads.
Sure.
And that's why we
Understood.
public brought out some good information as well and concerns
For
that
sure.
we'll have to take into that to either make a judgment one way or the other with that. So,
Yes, understood.
all right then. So we'll see you, unless you have anything else, Mr. Martinetti, we'll see you in a week.
Yeah, we will check in with DEP, and we will get the answers back from Natural Heritage, and be back to you as quick as we can.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue AMD 0282958 at 1 Salt Island Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of September 18th.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Lettieri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that jumps us down to notice of intent, 028301591 Wingersheek Road. They're asking for a continuation as well, correct?
Huh?
I don't have that. Are they?
No, I have Julian, the next one, Julian.
Yeah. Chuck, did
So
they
that-
ask for continuation?
91 Wingersheek Road?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
No, we're good.
Deb Eliason is here to speak for that one.
Rob,
Yep.
you with us? Okay. Just wanted to make sure you were starting the hearing.
I didn't know which one we're on. You guys jumped
We're
back,
on 90, we're on 91 Wingersheek.
so I was correct in the first place. Okay.
They're not being continued. They're going on. We're
Oh.
hearing them tonight.
Sorry about that, Ms. Eliason. Notice of intent 028301591 Wingersheek Road, Wingersheek Realty Trust. Construction of a construction for an accessory dwelling unit, septic system, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage, buffer zone to ACEC, and coastal resource areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. Mr. Judd is not available for this meeting tonight, but we thought it was important to address and hopefully resolve the legal question that has been raised with regard to the Parker River, Essex Bay, ACEC elevation and a potential change in the datum from NGVD 1929 to NAVD 88. I sent a memo to the commission the week before last, and we're hoping to get this legal issue resolved tonight if we can. After reviewing the ACEC authorization, it's clear that regardless of what datum you use, the location of the ACEC line does not change. Legally, the boundary stays the same regardless of the datum used. The ACEC boundary was set by the Secretary of Environmental Affairs in 1979 under the authority of Mass General Laws, Chapter 21A, Section 2, Subsection 7. And they used NGVD 1929 as the datum because that was the only datum that was available at that time. The city of Gloucester has adopted that location under its ordinances, Section 12-11B7. The boundary line cannot be legally changed without further action by the Secretary and an amendment of the Gloucester ordinance. You can use a different datum. There's nothing to say you can't do that, but that needs to be adjusted so that it is at the same elevation as that was set by the Secretary as well as the Gloucester ordinance. According to Mr. Judd, that's approximately a 10-inch difference. The line isn't a floating line. It was never intended to be floating. Property owners have relied on that location for over 40 years. And you cannot change the location without going through a legal process, which would include public hearings. An analogy would be if the United States decided to go to the metric system, for example. That would obviously affect a lot of measurements, and they would have to be adjusted. For example, the miles per hour is very different than kilometer per hour. So it's the same exercise that you would be going through, and the line location, however, stays the same. And we're requesting that you go forward with the project based on the line that Mr. Judd has shown, with the adjustment if you decide to use the 1988 datum. There are other technical issues that Mr. Judd has to address, and he will do those at a later time. So those will have to be addressed at a different hearing. But I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to the legal question.
Okay, first up, I'll open up for public comments. Anybody wishes to speak for or against the project at 91 Wingersheet Road, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
There are 32 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, why don't we move into roll call comments? Chuck?
Before you do your comments, I would just like to remind the commission that I did reach out to the DCR ACEC coordinator and to the CZM regional coordinator, the current and the former people in charge of the ACEC program. Neither of those parties concurred with what Mr. Judd and what Ms. Ellison are stating. In fact, they both insinuated that the newer datum should be used. And they also did say that, you know, this decision is up to the commission to make as the regulatory body. So that being said, I believe it is up to the commission to make this determination. And if the applicant does not like the determination of the commission, as with any decision made on an NOI, they can appeal that to DEP. And we'll do roll call. Member Chair.
No comments at this time.
Member Sargent.
Yes, I'd like to inform Attorney Eliason that it is not the Parker River Essex Bay ACEC anymore. It's the Great Marsh ACEC. The name has been changed. The conservation agent has reached out to the DCR ACEC coordinator to inquire about this, and she sent an email concerning this with interpretation of the appropriate to mean the most current map for the elevation 10 NAVD. She also indicated that DCR has started the process of updating the ACEC maps and using the recent LiDAR data from DEP, and this update would use elevation 10 NAVD. Additionally, the city attorney, Suzanne Egan, has been advised that we should use the most recent determination of elevation 10 as the boundary of the ACEC. If we at the commission elected to interpret the ACEC boundary to the current NAVD elevation for 9.2, which would be the adjustment, it would be just for a limited time only until, you know, ACEC maps, you know, were presented. So we should really consider doing it now. It seems obvious that we need to do that. That being said, I would give any variance request for ACEC setbacks weighted consideration if that property were previously outside the earlier 10-foot NGVD contour. Thank you.
Member Terry.
Thank you for your memo, Ms. Eliason. I see your argument, but I think I have to agree with Chuck and with Mr. Sargent. I think the NAVD 88 10-foot line is the best line. To me, the designation of the ACAC language says that it's, you know, the 10-foot contour line, which is a line 10 feet above mean sea level. To me, that is a floating line because mean sea level changes, and as sea level rises 10 feet above sea level is going to change. So that line is just by its nature not fixed to a position. It's fixed to the relative to sea level. It's 10 feet above sea level. So as that changes, I think that line is going to change anyway. The declaration language says, as shown on the appropriate USGS 7.5 minute series topographic map. I have a slightly different interpretation of what appropriate means. To me, appropriate in that situation means the USGS 7.5 series map that basically shows the area being described. I think at the time in 1979, there were only print maps that were based on an older datum, but I don't think at that scale of a map, the entire ACAC area was shown on one map. I think you had to look at a map for Rockport and you had to look at a map for Newburyport, just because of the size of the the area being described. So to me, the appropriate map would be the map that shows the area that is being described. And if you look at the declaration, it runs from essentially Plum Island and Newburyport all the way to Rockport along the 10-foot contour. So I see that as sort of not necessarily meaning the newest map, just meaning the map that shows the area being described on it. And of course, the 7.5 series of maps, there's a whole multiple maps that show different areas all across the country. But since now as things have changed since 1979 when the declaration was made, the USGS maps, now the official datum is NAVD 88. That is the official USGS datum that they recognize. They don't use maps by NGVD 29 anymore. And now the USGS official maps are digital, and you can go on the internet and you can see them. So I think the appropriate map to use, I think, is the most modern one, the modern technology, and the most recent one. And I think if you use that, it's going to be based on NAVD 88 instead of NGVD 29. So I think the important thing is 10 feet above the 10-foot contour line on whatever the appropriate map using the most appropriate technology would be. So I default, or my interpretation is the NAVD 88 datum, and not a conversion to the line at the old elevation, the current 10-foot elevation on those maps. And as they may change with sea level rise into the future.
Member
I can't follow that one. I concur with Peter.
Member Jackson?
I agree. I appreciated Mr. Sargent's comments. He said it much better than I could have. And in addition, Mr. Vitteri's comments about the line being a floating line, of course it is. Sea level is rising, dunes change. All of this is a very fluid environment. I do think that the appropriate mapping would be the most current on the assumptions that they are developed with better technology and more reflective of current conditions. So there you have it.
And I do respectfully disagree. The fact that it was set in legislation essentially, and also by ordinance, the line becomes stagnant in my opinion, and that it could be changed. You certainly could use a different datum, but again, as I said, it would need to be adjusted. So thank you, but I do respectfully disagree.
Good. Anything else?
I don't think there's anything further that we can address tonight. Mr. Judd will be available at a later meeting to address further issues. With regard to requesting a variance, I guess that is something that Mr. Judd will have to consider whether or not that's appropriate in this circumstance, since this line or determination as to whether the line has changed is somewhat a fluid and new discussion.
When would you like to continue to?
I believe Mr. Judd is gone until September 20th, so I do not believe he could be available on the 18th, but perhaps the meeting after that.
Okay. That would be October 9th, I believe. Is that right, Chuck?
I'm sorry, but the
October 9th is the next meeting after the 18th.
first meeting, the,
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283015 at 91 Wingershik Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Ms. Charpentier seconds?
roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is notice of intent 0283016 Julian Road. They're requesting a continuation, correct?
Yes.
Yes, till October 9th.
Sorry. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283017 at 131 Atlantic Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Did we miss one? I thought we were doing Julian Road.
I'm sorry, you're right. I forgot a line on my notes and I
There you go.
messed up. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283016 at 6 Julian Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024. Thank you, Linda.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, moving down, you have another continuation, correct? 131 Atlantic.
No, we've got 131 Atlantic Road. I believe somebody's here for that one.
And Joe Jackson is recusing from this.
Okay.
Somehow.
Let's see, we've got Michael Byrne.
On Kirk Road, right?
No, 6 Julian Road. I'm sorry, 131 Atlantic Road. 0283017, 131 Atlantic Road.
Got it. You have him? Yeah.
He keeps popping around here. Says he's trying to rejoin his panelist. There he is.
Michael, can you hear me?
He's muted.
You need to unmute yourself, Michael.
How's that?
Name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Michael Byrne. My address is 4 Cambridge Ave in Gloucester, Mass. And I'm here to represent my client at 131 Atlantic Road in Gloucester. At your previous meeting, well, first of all, I'll back up. Mr. Judd wasn't able to attend the meeting. I spoke to him. He asked me if I was comfortable sharing the information with you, with the commission tonight. I said I was. He sent an email to the commission following up the request for information from our last meeting. And so I believe that all of you have seen that, and he explains what revisions were made to his plan. And then he also attached a note from my client's attorney going through the information that his attorney presented as far as the previous orders of condition from 5/20/2013 and 1/21/14. And also both of those orders of condition were given certificates of compliance by Mass DEP file.
Okay. First up, if you don't mind waiting, I'm going to open this up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 131 Atlantic Road may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 29 attendees and there are no hands up this time.
Okay, so Chuck, if you want to, I remember obviously we reviewed this project a while ago. I don't know if you want to walk us through it or me through it to see what's.
Yep. So let me pull a plan up here. So the previous plan did not show. So in the previous NOI, there was a. Let me pull up the as-built from the previous NOI. There were some questions about the non-pervious driveway that was supposed to be pervious for the previous. But if we look at the as-built plan for the COC, it does show it as a bituminous concrete driveway. So I don't think that we can go back and take issue with something that was approved at that point. But then there is the issue of this plan shows that there is a retention basin that takes water from the gutter systems and roof drainage. And then also another drain that takes this water. There's an underground pipe that takes that water down to this wetland area. So currently this infiltration area does not exist on the property. It's flat back there. And so in the new plan that John has submitted, he does show there's now a rain garden area, drainage bioretention area, he's calling it, back in this corner that will, I guess, take this this roof drainage. There's still a question about that other pipe that will take it to that other wetland area from the certificate of compliance as built, because that is not shown in his current plan. But this is the current plan that has been submitted, and then there's also the
Wasn't there concern about the wetland outside on the back? Another wetland, or is that the one to the left?
That's the one to the left, yeah. And then this let's see.
All right. Oh, okay. Here we go.
And this is the planting plan. But again, this one also shows that drainage from the original infiltration area, but that does not show in the current plan that most recent plan that John submitted.
All right. Why don't we do Commissioner roll call comments, see what we get from that.
Sure. Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Sargent.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the bioretention swale is replacing the previous approved bioretention area. There still should be some type of mitigation for the increased impervious surfaces, such as the proposed cabana, and I don't see that on the plan. And besides the pipe that Chuck was talking about, I was wondering if the subsurface infiltration chamber and driveway trench that were approved and installed in lieu of the previous driveway service are still in existence and if they're functional. And finally, when it's approved, there should be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of plantings, and all dewatering must be adequately treated before being discharged.
Member Terry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why is there a rain garden basin, retention basin shown on an as-built that's not there? Is what happened to it is my question. That's it.
Member
All right. Michael, can you respond?
Yes. I believe in the the information provided by my client's attorney, special conditions are listed on page 11, 12. The vegetated bioretain area or recorded typo, and it said that it was compliant in do you have a copy of the information that was provided by Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, I reviewed the email. It said there was an original order of conditions that lapsed. Then there was a replacement order of conditions that didn't have the requirement for the rain garden or the pervious driveway. But I guess my question is, why was there when was the as-built prepared, and did the as-built show conditions on the second order of conditions in order to get a certificate of compliance? And if it did, then what happened in the interim after the certificate of compliance was issued, after the as-built was prepared, to today, where that doesn't appear to be in existence anymore?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question for you, Commissioner Terry. I'm sorry, may need to wait till John comes back to be able to answer that question.
I think we're gonna have to, Michael. It's just, there's a couple of gaps here. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely gaps in the system here. So we appreciate
Okay.
it.
Well, I hope I didn't waste your time. I thought that we had provided sufficient the information that was requested from the last meeting. So I apologize if the information wasn't satisfactory, so you guys can make a decision tonight.
No big deal. We appreciate it. Your efforts anyways.
Okay. Thank
We're going to continue this for him anyways. So he's not going to be back for the next hearing. Should probably push him to the meeting after that. Correct, Chuck?
Yeah, he did mention that if it was continued, it should be continued to the meeting of October 9th.
So,
and I wonder if you could note an additional question I had. I wasn't sure if the native plant design preceded the change with a new infiltration area, and I'm not sure some of those plants are intended to be in such wet areas at the bottom of that basin. So I wonder if that planting plan needs to be revisited with the change with this bioretention area.
got that, Michael?
Yes, I do. I'm taking the notes.
All right, sir.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Oh, well, I'm going to move. Oh, you don't have to stay on for this, Michael. So I move to continue the project at 131 Atlantic Road to, what is it, Chuck?
October 9th, 10/9.
October 9th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
And Member Gullo.
Yes. All right, sir. Michael, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
For the record, Commissioner Jackson has returned.
All right. Moving along, got down to Kirk Road, correct?
Yes.
That's been continued.
Yeah. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 3 Kirk Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullo.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we got new business. We're going to RDA 1810, 81 Riverview Road, Brian Casey, removal of 300 square feet wooden deck in tidal flat, coastal bank, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Robert Griffin of Griffin Engineering Group representing.
Good evening.
Evening.
And I'm going to share my screen if it's all right. I've got a couple things to just go through quickly.
Sure, we just need the name and address.
Oh, sorry, I'm Robert Griffin of Griffin Engineering. The applicant is Brian Casey of 81 Riverview Road. I hope this works. Okay. Mr. Casey lives at 81 Riverview Road, which is the highlighted little dot here on the east side of the Annisquam River. A relatively small lot. It's about 8,000 or 9,000 square feet in size. Here I've zoomed in a little bit on a recent aerial from the Gloucester GIS system. And you can see the house is pretty close to the shoreline, and there's this deck sticking out. This is a winter picture, so his gangway and float are not shown in the picture, but that's part of the property as well. Mr. Casey purchased the property earlier this summer, or this year, and in the process of the real estate conveyance, it was determined that the extent of the deck exceeds the Chapter 91 license at the site. So DEP, in order to allow the transaction to go forward, basically ordered Mr. Casey to remove the excessive deck area within 75 days of his purchase. And that's coming up towards the end of September. So Mr. Casey has retained Lighthouse Construction and obviously filed this application as a means of removing the deck that shouldn't have been built or was built not in accordance with the Chapter 91 license. So all we're really doing here is we're just removing some portions of the deck. It's not particularly well built. So there's not a whole lot of heavy construction work. All of this work will happen manually. I'm going to show you a quick picture of the shoreline at low tide. So this is one of the pieces of deck that needs to be removed. And you can see that the builder just took some 4x4s and rested them on some rocks, and it's sort of braced. It hasn't fallen down, but it's not going to be a real challenge to get rid of this carpentry work. And here's a view from the other side. Again, this is the piece in the closest portion of the picture right on that gets removed. The gangway is permitted and can and will remain. But back to our site plan for a moment. Mr. Casey expects to file a notice of intent in coming months to make some renovations of the house, and he's probably going to make some improvements to the pier and float as well. So there'll be a full presentation to the commission, in a few months when that work is designed and ready to go. All we really want permission to do right now is to remove the offending portions of the deck and stabilize that area. Again, all the work's going to happen manually, no heavy equipment. Everything will be all the work will occur at low tide. There'll be tarps placed and shop vacs used to remove any sawdust and the like from the work area. And with that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, first up would be to open up public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project, you do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 29 attendees, and there are no hands up at this time.
Okay, moving on to commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier.
Seems fairly straightforward to me. No comments.
Member Sargent.
I just want to make sure there's no heavy equipment, on the tidal flats. Thank you.
Member Viteri.
Are the deck supports dug into the ground, or are they just resting on top of the rocks? And if they're dug underneath the surface, are you going to be backfilling basically the area where the posts are?
No additional comment.
Member Jackson.
No additional comments.
You can now speak, Mr. Griffin, about what you were going to say.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Sargent wanted me to restate that there's no heavy equipment involved here. There'll be just laborers working on the mud flat or on the rocky shoreline, essentially. And it's you can't get down there, except probably by barge. So it's a very difficult area to get a machine down there if you wanted to. So all this has to happen manually. In regards to the supports, they really are just resting on rocks, and I didn't see any buried. I think if there was any significant, resistance, we would just cut it off at the ground surface and then, repair that later on when we're doing our more permanent pier and float improvements.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner? Are we ready to move this?
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1810 at 81 Riverview Road.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Sergeant.
Yes.
Member Sears.
Yes.
Member Vella.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1810 at 81 Riverview Road with the conditions that are documented in the documents and in the discussion tonight.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sergeant.
Yes.
Member Sears.
Yes.
Member Vella.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank
All
you
right,
all,
you're
and
all
good
set,
evening.
sir.
Thank you.
Good evening. Okay,
I'll be recusing myself for this next one.
yeah. Okay, next up is RDA for RDA 1811 at 26 High Rock Terrace, Wendy Lith, for reconstruction of home on piers in buffer zone to coastal bank, represented by somebody other than John Judd of Gateway Consultants.
Yes, Andy Stevens should be here. Maybe.
Muted.
Your video on too? Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Name and address for the record, please, and then a brief summary of the project.
Sure, Andrew Stevens, 10 Winter Haven Road, Gloucester, Mass. The project was originally approved for an RDA by your board in 2020 to build a new home where a old home had existed, but to move the new home further away from the coastal bank area. I was informed on around July 15th of this. We had, in the meantime, started the foundation work for the project. It's a very complex structural project, so it's moving slowly. But I was informed on July 15th by Rob and Chuck that the RDA that had been previously approved in 2020 had lapsed. At that time, Chuck impressed on me that I should not continue working, and we have pulled off the site since. This John Judd, who was the original engineer, was re-engaged to be the engineer again, essentially produced the same drawing. The main difference in this drawing and the original one is that we have added a great deal more planting mitigation, primarily because we understand the site a lot better than we did back in 2020. But otherwise, it's essentially what was already approved with a tiny bit more delineation that Chuck had asked for.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We're going to open this up for public comment, and that will be followed by commissioner comments. And if you could kind of keep track of any questions that come up or anything that you want to address at the very end, we'd appreciate it. So I'm going to open this up now for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 26 High Rock Terrace?
We currently have 28 attendees and there are no hands up at this time.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period and we'll move on to commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Sergeant.
I'd like a 2-year monitoring for the mortality and mitigation plantings.
Member Thierry.
No comments.
Member Jackson.
No comment. Do you have any comments on this, Chuck?
I don't. I've bounced that site several times and everything has been in compliance with the original RDA. And at this point, I think they're just kind of finishing up some of the foundational work and proceeding. So.
Okay, thank you. Linda, I'll entertain a motion for closing the public hearing.
Yep. The Charpentier moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1811 at 26 High Rock Terrace.
Do we have a second? Dave?
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sergeant.
Yes.
Member Thierry.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, then Charpentier moves for a negative determination for RDA 1811 at 26 High Rock Terrace with the aforementioned condition of monitoring for 2-year monitoring for mortality of the plantings.
Commissioner Sargent seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes, you're all set, sir.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, go forth. All right, do we have Rob back? Rob. We've lost both Dave and Rob.
that's great.
Is Dave. Okay, we'll wait for Rob. I'll start on Niles Beach. Next up, it's RDA 1812 at Niles Beach, Pavilion Beach, Hodgkins Cove, by Peter Garneau and Randall Hughes for vegetative study on subtitle Eelgrass Beds in and Under the Ocean. Peter Garneau and Randall Hughes representing.
For the record, Commissioner Gull is back.
Okay, thank you. It's all yours, Rob.
Name and address.
Can you hear me?
Yep, name and address for the record, please.
Sure, Randall Hughes, 374 Forest Ave in Swampscott. Sure. So I'm also a professor of marine and environmental science at Northeastern's Marine Science Center in Nahat. And we're here today with an RDA for an eelgrass collection, preferably at Pavilion Beach, although we've suggested a couple of sites that could be alternates if the commission prefers, to support a research project examining the effect of root microbes on eelgrass health in the context of restoration projects. We're requesting 2 collections, one hopefully next week during the really low tide series, and one in October, each of approximately 350 shoots, but not to exceed 800 shoots total. We'll be collecting by hand, either on snorkel or on scuba. And our past research in eelgrass at these sites and others north of Boston suggests that the number of shoots is just a very, very small fraction of the, what's present in an eelgrass bed. And so we don't anticipate that it'll have any negative impacts on the bed. Certainly our goal is to understand and protect eelgrass, not to harm it. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
And first step is.
Sorry, I got into leading here. Go ahead, Rob.
Is the open it up to public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at the RDA at Niles Beach, Pavilion Beach, Hodgkins Cove? If so, you can do so by raising your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 27 attendees and there are no hands up.
Seeing none, hearing none, to close the public comment period. Why don't we go to roll call commissioner comments?
Yep, and before your comments, I just wanted to add that I did reach out to DMF and to Gloucester Shellfish, and nobody had any concerns or issues with this proposal. So we'll start with Member Charpentier.
Well, we've seen many of these kinds of projects come before us, and I always support the research and the effort that goes into them. I support this.
Member Sargent. You're muted.
No comment.
Member Terry.
No comments.
Member Gullah. And Member Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, that's everybody, I guess.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing, excuse me, for RDA 1812 at Niles Beach, Pavilion Beach, Hodgkins Cove.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1812 at Niles Beach, Pavilion Beach, and or Hodgkins Cove.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set.
Thanks very much for your time.
Okay, moving down now, we're on ANRAD 0283014 50 Essex Avenue, Michael Hale, City of Gloucester. Abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for water pollution and control facility. Bob Parsons, Tetra Tech, representative.
Good evening, Commission members. Bob Parsons, Tetra Tech, 95 Governor Road, Stoneham, Massachusetts. I'm also joined by two individuals. There is Lisa. Okay, great. Lisa Carrozza. Lisa, you can introduce yourself.
Okay, sorry about that. Took a few minutes. Lisa Carrozza with Tetra Tech, 31 State Street in Boston.
Who's the third?
I'm sorry?
Who's the
Eric.
third?
Eric
Oh,
Kelly.
Eric Kelly, sorry.
Okay, brief description of the project.
Sure. Chuck, do you want to share, if you don't mind sharing figure 4, which is the aerial, which I think would be great. So here tonight representing the city to confirm the resource areas at the water pollution control facility at 50 Essex Ave. In light of the fact that some recent changes have happened at the site, where the flood barrier protection wall was built in the last 2 years. So Tetra Tech's role in this is to develop 30% design for the city and also to identify which permits we'll need for the future upgrades. So we started to look at this and realized that since the flood barrier went in, the resource areas have changed, meaning there's the area within the flood barrier is no longer subject to flooding, because you just paid to have a flood barrier wall put in. So, and that flood barrier was based on a 2015 report that was a very detailed study by Kleinfelder and Woods Hole Group that identified the projected 2030 and 2050, 2070, excuse me, flood zones. And that was the basis of design for your flood wall. So we're seeking concurrence that the site no longer floods within the barrier because of the presence of the flood wall. And at some point in the future, the city will be back to file a notice of intent for the upgrades to the facility. But we're just trying to identify the permits right now and nail down the resource areas for that future work.
Okay. Why don't we open up for public comment first? Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the ANRAD for 50 Essex Avenue may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 24 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, to close public comment period. Roll call. Commissioner comments are next.
Member Charpentier.
No comment?
Member Sargent.
Yeah, you could have gone through FEMA as well for a letter of map revision. And I'm wondering why that wasn't done, if for no other reason than insurance purposes for the city. But I guess that's my only question.
Yeah, the city.
Sorry, we'll go through all. I'm sorry, I should have. We'll go through all the questions first. Sorry about that.
Member Materi.
No comments.
Member Bella.
No additional comments.
Member Jackson.
No, I don't have any comments, but I think Chuck, didn't you have some comments on this?
Nothing in particular.
Okay.
But it is just a smaller portion of the property that currently shows up as, so it's a portion of the property that shows up as within the flood zone. So it's not the entire portion of the property. So basically, they're just asking for the new additional flood wall to basically help remove this area from consideration as part of the floodplain. There's allowance for commissions to review additional and new information. So this is information that wasn't available at the time that FEMA made their maps. So it is in the you know, it's your discretion to, make that determination that this is effectively out of the flood zone, if that's what you find.
And you have no problem with that?
I've seen the flood wall function, and I haven't seen it during a storm event yet, but
Okay.
it did function in the tests that I saw.
Okay.
All right. Who, anyone else who want to cycle back? Peter? You get your responses?
Well, they haven't responded yet.
Oh, to the question about the LOMAR, correct. The city has not indicated that they wish to pursue one. We asked. So.
Okay.
So that was the short and sweet answer.
All right. That it? That everybody? Everyone? Nobody else has a comment on this? Okay.
Okay, did you open this up for public comment? Is it a public hearing?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
There is no hands up.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it was a public hearing. Commissioner Jackson, what?
You really have to move so quickly.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for ANRAD 0283114 at 50 Essex Avenue.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
Member Jackson? Yes. Okay, hear me out on this one, Chuck. I'm a little rusty on ANRAD. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve ANRAD 0283114 at 50 Essex Avenue as documented in the materials presented to the Conservation Commission.
Charpentier seconds?
I just want to clarify, it's 3014, not 3114.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Bella,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
You're all set?
All right. Thanks very much. for
Thank
your
you
time.
all. Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next up. Notice from 10-028-3020 to High Rock Terrace. Peter Carboni and Susan McNulty to raise, rebuild single-family home and associate
Pertinences.
what she said. I'm getting sleepy here. And dune restoration within coastal dune and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Ugh. On meetings killing.
And buffer zone to coastal resource areas.
Good evening, commission members. My name is Devin Tabor from Lucas Environmental. Here with me tonight, I also have Daniel Ottenheimer. He is the project engineer. I will take the presentation, but he'll join us for any questions that you might have at the end of the presentation. So again, I'm presenting on behalf of the project applicant, Peter J. Carbone, who is the trustee of the Peter J. Carbone 2005 Revocable Trust, and then Susan McNulty. This is for the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family residence located at 2 High Rock Terrace. As currently designed, the applicants propose to demolish and reconstruct an existing single-family home on the lot and the associated appurtenances. In addition to coastal dune restoration. Work is proposed within land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal dune, and the buffer zone to both coastal beach and coastal dune. If I may share my screen, that would be great. I do have a brief presentation for you, and then again, I can answer any questions.
Yep.
So, share. Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
I can.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So I just want to go over briefly the project site history because I'm not too sure if any of you, how long you've been on the board or if you're familiar with the property at all. But there was some recent history of permitting related to the shared right-of-way off of Twilight Avenue. The permit associated with the permitting is Mass DEP file number 0282653. And that was issued June 20th, 2019 to Les Bebichik. And forgive me if I just butchered that name, on behalf of the Longbrier Neighborhood Association. And this was for the repair, rehabilitation, and renourishment of the sandy coastal dune that occupies the portion of Twilight Avenue right-of-way and includes 2 site addresses that were associated with the permit as well. So the photos just in front of you now were the site conditions when our staff went out in June of 2023 with the staked erosion control and that boardwalk that was installed along with the rehabilitated areas along the dune and that right of way. So just wanted to kind of bring that to light just before we dig into the existing and proposed conditions. So here is our existing condition plan. I tried to make some colors for you guys to keep things a little easier on the eyes, but the property has been altered and developed over the years and currently has approximately 0.24 acres of land with a single family home here, shed right here where my cursor is. You can all see my cursor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. We also have a manicured lawn, which is most of the area here. And then we have a pea stone driveway. And this home here was constructed about 1975. So the home resides between Twilight Avenue to the west here, High Rock Terrace to the south, and then the Rockport Gloucester municipal boundaries right up here where the corner of my cursor is to the northeast, and then the hotel that you guys are all familiar with is Cape Ann Motor Inn to the northwest. So again, there are several coastal resource areas here on the site. Starting seaward, we'll make our way west. So we have coastal, we have our coastal beach up here. Well, seaward of mean high water, we have land under the ocean. And then we have coastal beach. This red line here, I tried to color that for you. That is the landward extent of the coastal beach and the seaward extent of the coastal dune. The coastal dune is vegetated in most of the portions, sandy, nice coastal dune. And here we have in orange our delineated landward edge of dune, which was delineated in June of 2023. This is also the limit of land subject to coastal storm flowage. While we do have an AE zone and a VE zone out here seaward, this is, with regards to the CZM manual, the landward edge is also the edge of the land subject to coastal storm flowage jurisdictional limit. Making our way here, we have the buffer zones to both coastal beach, where my cursor is in yellow, and then we have the 100-foot buffer zone here to coastal dune, where my cursor is. I just wanted to highlight the flood zone out here. So a portion of the site, again, is located in the special flood hazard zone AE. And there's a VE out here at elevation 18, our AEs at elevation 14. There is the limit of moderate wave action line identified that you all are familiar with that black dark triangle. It represents the limit of the 1.5 foot breaking wave. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew we were using that most recent mapping. So I'm just going to bring a few photos up and we can just briefly go over Again, so the property here, this is the side of the existing single family home facing northeast. So you can see that this whole area is all manicured lawn. Where my cursor is here, and let me know if I'm going too fast, but where my cursor is here is that area where the boardwalk and the rehabilitation transpired associated with that past permit. And so we have dune vegetation here, and this is kind of where that curvature of our landward edge of dune delineation follows and then cuts across through the deck. Again, the dunes vegetated. We took note of that at the time of the delineation, and then here we go. Okay, this is from the coastal beach area facing towards the home south. So as you can see, there is the deck existing there and an existing staircase coming down onto the dune. And then here we have a staircase that's going to be towards High Rock. So High Rock is here. These are just some photos of our rack line and the coastal beach and anything in seaward of that. So again, some more photos for you. These are the staircases coming down off the existing deck of the home. And then this is the sub base below the deck, what exists today. Okay, and this is the existing shed. I don't think I did mention that there was a pea stone driveway here and then the shed out there right now. So the proposed work includes demolition of approximately 1,200 square foot dwelling, and then the removal of approximately 554 square feet of deck on footings with stairs. And then there'll be a removal of approximately 302 square feet of sidewalk within buffer zone to coastal beach and coastal dune. The dwelling and the deck with the staircase will be reconstructed in a similar footprint. However, the staircase leading out to the coastal dune would be pulled back just a bit from the resource area than what exists today. So this is the deck staircase that I'm talking about here. The proposed home will be slightly larger than what exists today, and a portion of the home will be, in addition to the proposed garage, will be on a slab foundation connected to approximately 880 square feet of pervious paver driveway. So that's right here where my cursor is. This is, for the owners to utilize parking instead of using the existing lawn and then the small area of parking here. So I wanted to show the commission just a snip of the architectural plans, which we included in our notice of intent package. But I just wanted to go over the proposed new first floor elevation will be roughly 21.1 feet, which is 2.6 feet higher than what exists today as that first floor elevation of the current home. The proposed residence and garage will feature a concrete slab foundation, as I previously mentioned. However, the seaward section where my cursor is here of the proposed dwelling will be elevated using 7 18-inch pilings similar to those planned for the exterior deck where my cursor is here. This design obviously facilitates natural and lateral movement of the sediments below the deck and this portion of the home. And promotes the dune growth. It allows for sufficient sunlight to penetrate between the structure and natural plant growth, as we are going to be adding and enhancing the dune a lot within this area here and obviously to the sides. The open area below the first floor dwelling and exterior deck will not allow for additional water movement and flow during, will now allow for additional water movement and flow during major storm events, which is an improvement than existing conditions now. And then there are 3 sets of staircases in comparison to the one that's there today. So there'll be one here, one on the side here, and one on the other side here for access. So again, the new dwelling and garage will be approximately 20 feet high from the front base, elevation of 21 feet to the front garage, and the dwelling roof ridge at elevation 41. The proposed garage will be placed over existing manicured lawn. I just want to go over some stormwater and BMPs. So the proposed project is a single-family home, so it's exempt from the Massachusetts stormwater management standards. However, the project does need to adhere to the standards set forth in the City of Gloucester zoning ordinance, which require stormwater management to be in place for any project over 500 square feet in size. So on the southeastern side of the home, near the walkway, there'll be approximately, right here, I tried to highlight this for you in pink. There'll be approximately 73 square feet stormwater infiltration area that connects to a gravel drip edge highlighted in yellow. That kind of wraps around the home. And then we included that here to the northeast side of the home as well. And it will also feature a pervious deck with joints, and spacing filled with on-site existing sand sediments to allow for, enhance the infiltration capabilities of the site. We've also introduced, best management practices, again, that will reduce any erosion, sediment, peak storm discharge. And so I think that covers that. So I just want to go over briefly the proposed landscape. So the applicant and owners are proposing to replace and convert existing manicured lawn surfaces to coastal dune habitat, which is a big piece of this project. In proposed conditions, the only area of lawn will be the walkway right here where my cursor is. They're vegetating absolutely everything here. This area currently has a sidewalk and access way, which will be removed during construction. And in total, there'll be approximately 5,500 square feet of native species planting, which is about 6.5 times the new impervious surface area proposed. So just want to highlight that, and then just briefly go over the list of the master landscape design plans prepared by Hillary Holdsworth. Again, this project significantly enhances the native species diversity on the site, and it'll introduce, over 21 different native species ranging from grasses such as American beach grass, which you're all familiar with, to native tree species such as black tupelo.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah, I can wrap it up. And I just wanted to note that we do have technical comments from Mass DEP. We wanted to let the commission know that we will handle that internally with our client and see how we can address them appropriately. But yeah, I wrap it up. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
what we're going to do is first I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Yeah.
So if those comments come in, I recommend you take notes, and then you'll respond to those notes, and then we'll come in and we'll also give you our comments. Okay.
Great.
I'm going to open up for public comment. So anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 2 High Rock Terrace may do so by raising your hand with the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 25 attendees, and there's one hand up, Marianne Swenson.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, name and address for the record, please.
Of course. Marianne Swenson, 3 Briar Neck Avenue. And I have next to me another person who will speak afterwards, who is another one of actually an abutter to Peter. So there was something said that there was a bunch of things said that I'd like to contest some of what was said. First of all, I want to make sure that you all read the information that we sent to the Conservation Commission with pictures of gullies and pictures of the beach in front of Peter's home, at times where we've been inundated with water from storms, and I just wanted to make sure that you all read that first, that before I even go on. I want to make sure you read the information that came from all of us. You did? Okay. So, so the first thing is, the first line item of contention was, we talk about this manicured lawn of his. It's not a manicured lawn. It is seagrass underneath. He cuts over everything that's trying to grow. It's all dune. There's nothing manicured about it. It's all sand. It's sand, it's dunes. It's everything that he just keeps down. If you were to let that grow, it would all be dune. So I'm just letting you know that, because I've lived here for 59 years, 18 of which I've owned the home that I'm in, but I've been here for 59 years and I've watched everything happen along Long Beach. So I think I have a little bit of, and I have pictures, more than lots of pictures. Next time we're here, I will do the sharing of screens and information, because I have plenty of information to share to rebut what we have tonight. Next thing is coastal dunes and the 100-foot. The question I have is, we've got the coastal dune area and the 100-foot buffer area. My question is, what is allowed for pervious? They're going from their current footprint to 2.5 times, or 2 point whatever it is, times of pervious space. What is that going to do from a drainage standpoint? We have horrible drainage issues. There's no drains on that road, and it comes down the side of Peter's property, over to Donna Sexton's, the next door neighbor, and comes straight onto the beach. And we had, in June, we had a 4-foot gully onto the beach. And somehow it just disappeared when all those pictures were taken that were used for the environmental pictures that Lucas has. I'd like to understand what is going to be done to mitigate that issue. And the other thing is, that path that you were talking about at the very beginning, that was done, and it took 3 years to get that through. And we had drainage issues that washed out that path 3 separate times. What will Peter do to make sure that that path is not washed out? Because we have an 89-year-old gentleman that we made sure that that path was built for, and made sure he could get onto the beach. He's been here all of my life plus more. And we're up in arms because we have drainage issues. And I can't imagine, with all that extra pervious space, a pervious footprint, that we are not going to have all that water on Long Beach. And we have a very limited left of Long Beach. If you actually go to that beach, that's the only corner of the beach left. And that is a private area, and it's going to be wiped out. So those are the things that I wanted to ask about. And I wanted to make sure that you had seen the pictures that were submitted with what was there for dunes previously, and what we have shown you for pictures during storms and all the destruction that's happened to those dunes. Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah. You want me to? Oh, we have one other person here. Here, go ahead, Karen.
Can I?
Yeah, she's with me and she lives here.
Okay, can I? All right, hi, this is Karen Fitch. I live at 12 Twilight Ave. I'm on a butter of Peter Carboni.
The square footage.
Yeah, we have so many questions, and I know you guys have seen and read all of the things that we sent in. And yeah, I can see you guys just like, oh, I'm sorry, but this is our beach, it's our dunes. And Peter's sitting there with his bottle of champagne saying, yeah, this is great. And we're just really concerned that our beach is going to be washed away. But I don't understand. First of all, the Twilight Ave is a 40-foot street, and Lucas shows the street, and a lot of the mitigation that he's doing, most of it is actually in Twilight Ave. And I'm not sure. Yeah, the plantings, and I'm not sure is that. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not an environmental person. I'm not a DEP person or a conservation person, but I saw the plans that Devin put up there, and a lot of that mitigation was right on Twilight Ave. So that would be a question, is that allowed? And another question I have, which is huge, is like the size of the house. I mean, everything that we've seen, the house was 5,205 feet. Square feet. And we just saw what Devin showed up was like
20 something square hundred.
1,000 something square
something.
feet. That's a huge deviation. And then, of course, there's all the other things that Mark Sincata put in his letter, the fact that the zoning commission approved 1 stairway and now he's got 3. The zoning commission approved a deck of a certain size and now that deck has been expanded.
The pilings.
And
into
the-
the dunes.
I don't know, the pilings going into the dunes, but I feel like there is so much, and John Lucci's letter about the fact that he put the cement ditch down at the side of his lawn area on the Sexton's property, and it's wiping out their area. And I mean, all these things are just raising so many red flags. And I just don't see how a conservation commission in Gloucester could approve something with this many issues going on, with that many discrepancies in the different reports, with the fact that what was approved through the zoning board is so different than what he's trying to put now through the commission. So I just hope that you guys will take all of that into consideration. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, Devin, you're welcome to respond. Obviously, it's late. We're obviously gonna have to continue this for, it's gonna be other comments, I'm sure, in the future.
Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not gonna worry about responding to the abutter comments at this time. We understand we're gonna continue the hearing. More than happy to just hear the commission and then keep this running for you guys. I know you have a few projects left, so.
Thank you. So next up, we'll roll call comments. Chuck?
Yep, Member Charpentier.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what the actual changes in impervious when this when this new dwelling goes up.
So
And
give you all our comments and then you can respond.
yeah, because when you went through this, you talked about, so many square feet here and so many square foot. I'd like to see, what was there originally and what you're putting up now, the change in impervious, and also how that relates to the mitigation plantings.
Member Sergeant.
Yeah, in addition to the DEP comments, I didn't see any construction sequence or fencing around the construction site. And I don't believe the proposed access to the beach meets CZM standards for beach access. This impacts the natural function of the primary frontal dune. It also appears that the proposal is to rebuild the deck on top of the primary dune. This would not allow the primary dune to migrate, altering its natural function. And there's also a discrepancy in the impact mitigation table. It lists 2,064 square feet for proposed dwelling, or in the proposed plan, it shows 2,662 square feet for the dwelling, about a third difference. And I'm also concerned that very little of the proposed mitigation is located between the proposed larger dwelling and the resource areas. I don't believe that planting native plants in a coastal dune environment that's already vegetated is in every instance adequate compensatory mitigation, especially when other options for more meaningful mitigation are available. Finally, I believe that the proposal as presented violates the basic tenets of wetland permitting. First, avoid impacts. If that's not possible, then minimize impacts. And finally, mitigate impacts as a last option. It appears that this proposal began with a mitigation approach in order to get the most bang for the buck and to be as close to the resource areas as possible. I strongly suggest that the applicants should reevaluate this proposal. Thank you.
Member Terry.
Yeah, I echo those concerns, and I have a lot of my own concerns. Chief among them is the discrepancy, it seems, is in the plans approved by the ZBA and the plans that are presented here, at least as it relates to the size and shape of the deck, and the location and number of staircases. The staircases, especially the one that's on the side closest to the beach, on the plans, it shows it's going directly into the dune restoration area. That's just going to direct traffic into the dune and into the dune restoration area. That is, I think, unwise and unacceptable. I don't know where that staircase will be in relation to the current staircase that exists in the middle of the deck. The one shown on the plan is on the side of the deck. So it seems like there's going to be another path that's made through the dune. I don't know what's going to happen to the existing path through the dune, whether that's going to be restored or not. So I think that needs to be shown on the plans, or it needs to be addressed, or perhaps that entire staircase on the beach side needs to be removed altogether so that there's no pathway that runs through the dune, and the entire area in the dune needs to be restored. I'm concerned that dune restoration and plantings are shown on Twilight Avenue and appear to be off the property. I think there's a serious legal question about whether or not there's control over that area into the future, and what the basis is for, exerting kind of this ownership of that area. I'm not sure if, the property is registered land or not. I'm not sure if this property owner has ownership of that part of Twilight Avenue or not, and whether or not they can control what goes on there. So that's a concern for me. I have questions about the movement of the dune underneath the deck and underneath the portion of the dwelling that is supposed to be on piles, whether there's going to provide for adequate lateral movement of sand and sunlight for the dune. And my final concern is about the gully, the concrete gully that appears to have been installed on the side of the property and is directing stormwater flow into the dune and is creating erosion on the beach. I'd like to know when that was installed, whether that was installed with permission, whether it's installed on this property or was installed on a neighbor's property. There's a lot of issues with this project. So those are my questions for now.
Bill,
No additional comments at this time.
Member Jackson.
Yes, I agree with many of the above comments. I was on the commission when the path controversy arose. So I do remember that. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember it. With some of these projects, I don't know whether they were previous Conservation Commission applications, and if so, were there orders of compliance given for those? It looks like the stairs, the deck, some of those should have come in to us, I think. I also would like a resolution of the discrepancies on the ZBA for our consideration in determining anything about this property. And I noted that there was one tree to be removed. We generally require replacement of tree removal by 2-to-1 mitigation. So I want to make sure that the applicant knows that.
Okay, Devin, so you got a lot on your plate there.
I got it all down, don't worry.
If you want to hit at the highlights for us right now, so because we're gonna obviously be continuing it, so.
Yeah. Yep. I'll just go over the Conservation Commission's comments. So what's the actual change of impervious, which is about 862 square feet, but we'll clarify that, and then what's the construction sequencing? Will there be use of construction fencing? The construction access currently does not adhere to the CZM guidelines, so we'll just clarify that. That was one of the comments from Mr. Sargent. There is a discrepancy of the impact table for the dwelling. We'll correct that. There was a concern that the deck is going to be constructed over the primary dune. We'll address that. Comments with regards to the plantings on Twilight on the right of way to see, you know, what the ownership is, if that's even allowable. We'll address that with the client's attorney, Joel Favraza. And then we will address the concrete gully to the side of the property, which is currently directing stormwater flow into the dune. I'm not too sure when that was installed. I don't know whose property it's on. I'm not familiar with this issue. And I know that was one of the comments made by the abutters. So we'll take a look at that and address that. I think that's it. I may have missed some.
Okay.
Oh, the decks and the staircases with regards to the ZBA plans. We'll clarify that.
And the trees, and the trees.
And the tree.
Tree, yeah.
I think Chuck raised an issue too about the delineation of the dune, whether or not the whole entire property is coastal dune. I think it's going to impact whether or not there's buffer zone or we're in resource area.
Right. Okay.
All right, with that, I guess we'll move to continue.
Okay. When do you want to continue to? Our next meeting is on September 18th, and the one after that is October 9th.
I think what we'll do, just to be safe, is continue until next week for the 18th, but more or less we're going to have a conversation with Chuck, you know, with regards to if we'll be ready or not, and then request a formal continuance if we need more time. But I'd like to just be on that agenda if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283020 at 2 High Rock Terrace to the Conservation Commission meeting of September 18th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Lettieri.
Yes.
Member Gully. Member Gully.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Sorry, Roy. You're all set. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you, commission members. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, moving along. We have a notice of intent with no DP number, 13 Marble Road, Leah Swigart and Peter Glosmet for an addition to a single-family home, native planting and buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. Abigail Manzi of DeRosa Environmental Inc. representative.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Gabendran here of DeRosa Environmental. I am here representing Lee Swigart and Peter Gromset for their property at 13 Marble Road in Gloucester, Mass. If it's okay, I will share my screen. Okay, so I just wanted to orient the commission a little bit on where Marble Road is. So it's in East Gloucester, close to Rocky Neck. There is a bordering vegetated wetland located on the southeastern portion of the site, and a culvert is beneath Marble Road for an intermittent stream that feeds this wetland system. Existing on site is a single-family home and a shed, and the project proposes to construct an addition to that single-family home. So here's the site plan. It was prepared by Mill River Consulting, Dan Ottenheimer. Here is the delineated wetland that we flagged in the field. And this green line here is the 100-foot buffer zone from that wetland. So this is the existing dwelling. There is an existing entryway that is going to be essentially removed and rebuilt in the same exact footprint. There is an existing deck off of this portion of the dwelling that's going to be removed, and in its place will be an addition for the dwelling. And then off of that addition is going to be an enclosed screened-in porch. Both the entryway and the addition are going to have be part of the full basement, so full foundation. And then the porch is going to be constructed on piles or on footings. We do have erosion control barriers, so all of the construction is essentially as far from the wetland as possible, and on the opposite side of the house, but we do have erosion controls just in case to protect any erosion from reaching the wetland. And we do have an erosion control barrier here as well, because portion of the project is to create a wildflower meadow or pollinator garden to mitigate for the increase in impervious within the buffer zone. I'll talk about that in a little bit later. As you can see, the wetland buffer, only a small portion of the project is actually within the buffer zone. So the entryway is completely out, and we're only increasing impervious surfaces by 177 square feet. And the wildflower meadow is 365 square feet. So that meets the 2-to-1 ratio. So I'll jump to the planting plan. Right now, this area is all lawn, existed as maintained lawn. So that will be, I think, rototilled up so that soil's exposed and that we can put in some containerized herbaceous material and some seed. And it's a great diversity of all native wildflower plants that will do really well in this area to increase the function and value of the vegetated buffer to the bordering vegetated wetland and to improve habitat value on site. That's a pretty straightforward project. At this time, I'll open the floor for any questions and I'm happy to answer.
Okay. First, we'll open up for public comment. Is anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 13 Marble Road may do so by hitting the hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld phone.
We currently have 14 attendees and there are no hands up at this time.
Hearing none, close public comment period. I will go into roll call. Commissioner.
Member Charpentier?
I think she might have dropped off. She said she couldn't stay.
Yeah, her camera's still up, but she's not there at the moment. So, Member Sargent.
I'd like a 2-year monitoring for the mortality and mitigation plantings.
Member Carey.
No comments.
Member Villa. Member Jackson.
No comment other than it doesn't look like any existing vegetation will be disturbed. I just want to make sure of that.
Okay. Those are commissioner comments. Anything else? Commissioners, are we ready to move this? Okay. We're ready to go.
Can I get my answer about vegetation? Come on, Rob.
I'll respond to that.
Thank you.
You're correct. There's no vegetation other than maintained lawn that's being disturbed.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I should, before we take a vote, there is no file number from DEP yet. I have confirmed that the state check has cleared, but there's just a communication area from the Boston office to the Northeast office. So I have been in touch with Jim Freely to get that as soon as possible.
Okay, in that case, we'll close no, we'll just continue. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 13 Marble Road for the purpose of obtaining a DEP number to the Conservation Commission meeting of, you want to go to the next meeting? September 18th, 2024.
Go a second. We'll call Member Sargent. Oh, yeah, Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Villa. Member Villa.
Yes. Can you not hear me?
I did not hear now. Member Jackson.
Yes.
Still can't hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
What happened? Yes. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Sure, I think I'm on presenting for the next couple projects.
Oh.
So I'll see you soon.
All right, so next up, notice of intent 028-3021, 19-20-23, Biskie Head Point, Charles and Susan Kelly, extension for water service to parcels 232-1 and 232-2 within riverfront area, land subject to coastal storm flowage, buffer zone to coastal resource areas. I think that's it.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028-3021 at 19 and 23 Biskie Head Point to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Commissioner Sargent seconds.
Roll call, Member Parmentier. Member Sargent.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Member Bell.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, notice of intent 028-3018, 59 Winger Creek Road, 59 Winger Creek Road, Realty Trust, a second-story addition and improvements to a single-family home in Barrier Beach, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage and buffer zone to ACEC. DeRosa Environmental Consulting representing, and Evan Devendra representing.
Thank you. For the record, Evan Vendera of DeRosa Environmental. I'm here representing 59 Winger Creek Road Realty Trust for their proposed second-story addition to a single-family home. I'll share my screen again. Okay, so I'm sure you all are familiar with Winger Creek Road. 59 Winger Creek is located, I guess about halfway down Winger Creek Road. I wanted to start with this map just to orient you a little bit on some of the resource areas. As you can see, the entire site is within coastal dune. I have the priority habitat layer on, which is this yellow hatched line. And as you can see, the single family dwelling is outside of that area. But we did send the application to Natural Heritage for review, as I'll get to in a little bit. And then down here, I turned on the ACEC layer to show that it's way out here. Across Winger Creek Road, and the upland edge and buffer zone to upland edge falls on site. I also wanted to put on the FEMA flood layer, and surprisingly for Winger Creek Beach, the existing dwelling is in between the two flood zones, so it's outside of the VE zone as well as the AE zone here. So I will share the site plan. So the site plan was prepared by Griffin Engineering. The site plan, I really like the way they prepare their site plans. They do one sheet that's just black and white, and then they do one sheet with the aerial view. But I'll present the colored version here, so it's a little bit easier to read. So we have approximate high water down by the ocean. This is the VE zone at elevation 19 that we showed you on Mass Mapper. This is the limit of the primary frontal dune. That was delineated based on CZM guidance and profile, which is shown on the bottom of the second sheet of the plan with the aerial. So it's all based on topography and the profiles to delineate that primary frontal dune. Then we have the limit of moderate wave action, which is here. We have the, this is the 200-foot buffer zone from the upland edge. This is the upland edge, and the ACEC is across Wingersheek Road, as I showed you on the map. This is a 100-foot buffer zone from the BVW that's also on the other side of Wingersheek Road. So lots of jurisdictional areas, but this is a really great project that's sort of in between the most sensitive areas of the most sensitive jurisdictional areas. So the proposed project is to construct a second-story addition right over the first. Well, I guess I should start with this is a single-story house right now. So they just want to build a second story on top of the single story. However, in order to do that, they need to put in some footings because it's just a slab concrete foundation right now. So what the footings do is they dig, it's like a 5-foot radius around each of the locations of where the footings are going to go. They'll dig down and then they'll put rebars into the concrete foundation. And then that will be able to support the second story. There's going to be a second story deck that's going right above the existing concrete patio. This is the limit of the concrete patio. And then also part of this project is they're going to install geothermal wells. The utility service will go through right here to the existing or to the mechanical room that's existing. They have to upgrade their septic system, which has been approved by the Board of Health already. And that's going beneath the driveway. So there's no disturbance to any natural vegetation for that. And then the last portion of the project that they're going to do is they're going to remove this odd-shaped pavement that was poured on part of their driveway and take that out and put down pervious pavers. So all in all, we're actually reducing impervious surface on site, which is a huge benefit for this sensitive site. I will switch to this aerial view just so you can see how we put the erosion control. So we actually adjusted the erosion control, which is the limit of work, so that it did not disturb any of the natural occurring dune vegetation. The only shrubs that are going to be disturbed are these 4 foundation shrubs that were put in for aesthetics. They, I don't even think that these ones aren't native. This is a cedar. So we'll remove those and we'll replace them with 4 beach plum in its place. This is also a great aerial photo to show this, the pavement that's going to be removed, and then pervious pavers will replace that. Because the limit of work, so this, I'll switch back. This blue line here is the limit of priority habitat. So because the machines need to access around the dwelling to install all these footings and piles, we needed to extend the limit of work slightly within natural heritage priority habitat. So we have sent the application to them for review. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten the letter back yet, but the database says that it should be issued by 9/25. All other city permits have been issued at this time. Conservation permit is the last one to go. But that's the gist of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first up, I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against project that went, oh, up down on 9, which one are we on?
59 Wingersheek.
Wingersheek. May do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 10 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up would be Commissioner roll call comments.
Member Secretary.
No comment.
Member Sergeant.
I note that the septic system will need a variance from the ACEC setbacks, And I'm wondering if the geothermal well is open loop or closed loop. That makes a difference. And I'd like to hear from Natural Heritage.
Number 2.
Yeah, I'd like to see the plans updated to have the upland edge delineated based off of our prior discussion of the contour line 10 from the NAVD 88 line. I'd also like to see on those plans the 100 foot and 200 foot buffer zone off of the upland edge, just so we can evaluate where the septic components are in relation to those. It seems like they may be able to squeeze the septic in without needing a variance, just outside that 100 foot off of the upland edge, but I'd like to see it on a plan. And I have a question of whether or not there's a plan to restore any dune above the soil absorption system and around the in the portion of the concrete patio that's being removed, but there's a portion of it that's not being reconstructed, I guess. It seems to be that the patio is being reduced in size, so the area that's being removed, whether there's going to be dune restoration in that part.
Yeah, I'm more curious about the house itself. If I'm not mistaken, isn't this an older home that basically sits on the ground? Am I correct on that? Okay, so I know this property pretty well, and my concern is I don't want this to cycle back into being something else that's not right now, meaning they get into it and say, oh, by the way, now we have to take the whole house down. Because I got to tell you, I don't know why you would salvage the bottom half of that thing and try and put a second floor on it. I know you're doing the piers, but I just want to make sure we're clear that this project isn't going to become something more than it is down, not necessarily purposefully, but just let you know I've seen the site and I don't know why they're doing it. No other comments.
No additional comments. I think the other commissioners have covered it.
You're up.
Oh, okay. I think I wrote them all down. I will have to get back to Commissioner Sargent on the closed loop or open loop system for the geothermal. I don't know that answer. There was another question about dune restoration, and I just wanted to clarify that this existing concrete patio is staying as is. The thing that's smaller is an elevated deck that's going to be for the second story. I can get confirmation from the structural person on the footings, just have him stamp a letter confirming that he has assessed the situation and these footings will work. And then for the ACEC, this boundary was estimated from Mass Mapper at elevation 10, I believe, but I will confirm, and then I can adjust this upland edge and 200 buffer from the upland edge based on that. I just did have one question about needing a variance for the septic. I thought in reading the bylaw that as long as the septic wasn't in the upland edge itself, it could be constructed in the buffer zone. Is that not the case?
It says no components of any drainage system or septic system shall be installed within 100 feet of the upland edge, which is 200 feet from the ACEC. Okay. And so when you look at where elevation 10 is on NAVD 88, it's this darker line here is elevation 10, and that's going to put so you know the septic's I believe right here, kind of that lighter concrete there. So you're just at 100 feet there, so it's definitely going to be within 200 feet of ACEC. So we'll require a request for a variance to have it remain there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think did I respond to all the commissioner questions at this time?
Anything else, commissioners? Okay, you ready to go continue you to the next meeting, or are you going to the late show?
I think we should continue to October 9th, because I don't think that the natural heritage letter is gonna be issued until the 25th.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283018 at 59 Wingersheek Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Carpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Bella. Member Bella,
Yes,
Member Jackson.
Yes.
I guess I have to look straight up. Okay. All
Thank
right. See you in a few. All right, next up, we have notice of 0283019 32 Stillington Drive, John Carey, management of aquatic vegetation species in Buswell Pond with herbicide, algicide, and land under water bodies and waterways. I guess that's you again. DeRosa Environmental Consulting, Inc. represent.
And that's me again. For the record, I'm a veteran of DeRosa Environmental. I'm here to represent Mr. John Carey for his project at 32 Stillington Ave in Gloucester, Mass, specifically Buswell Pond. That's on his site. So I will go ahead and share my screen. So just wanted to quickly orient the commission on where Stillington Drive is and Buswell Pond. As you're driving south on Western Ave past Stage Park, Buswell Pond is on the right. There is a dam from Buswell Pond that drains into the ocean eventually underneath Western Ave. That dam is managed and maintained by the Office of Dam Safety and the state because it's on 127. There is a very small portion of priority habitat on this corner of Buswell Pond. So we have sent this application to Natural Heritage for review. Their database says that the letter will be issued by 9/25 as well. So now that you're oriented, I will get into the project. So the project was filed as an ecological restoration project to improve the open water habitat for Buswell Pond and to slow eutrophication. So this pond is about 6.5 acres. It's a freshwater pond, and it's pretty shallow. I can't remember the exact depth, but there aren't many fish that can survive in this freshwater pond because it's so shallow. But what's happening is that there are invasive and aquatic nuisance vegetation that has been growing in the pond that has interfered with the overall water quality. So the project is to basically monitor and treat the vegetation. The first round is to target water shield and water lilies, which are accumulating close to the shorelines of the pond. And what we do is we use systemic herbicides applied by state licensed applicators. We'll use watered wetlands to help with this project. And the systemic herbicides target the species directly so that there's no adverse effects to the wildlife that's living in the pond, and it goes to the targeted vegetation only. We're not looking to completely eradicate all the vegetation or all the aquatic vegetation on the pond. It's just to thin it to improve the open water habitat. We do include several different herbicides and algicides in this management plan, and it's intended to be conducted over time. So the pond will only be treated as needed per the monitoring that's going to happen. So every year, Water and Wetlands will come out and they'll do a vegetation survey to assess what needs to happen. So we did identify some submerged aquatic vegetation as well as the floating aquatic vegetation. So if the order of conditions is issued, the first target will be the water shield and water lilies. I do have a couple photos if you're interested in seeing those, but other than that, I can answer some questions hopefully.
Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 32 Skillington Drive may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 9 attendees and there are no hands up.
Hearing none, close public comment period. Next up, roll call Commissioner comments.
Member Sharp's here.
Yeah, I guess it's the chemist in me, but I'd like to see the safety data sheets for those materials.
Member Sargent.
Yes, the DEP guidance document for aquatic plant management in lakes and ponds states that there should be, quote, a map showing the distribution and density of target and non-target plants and all inlets and outlets to the water body, including any control structures. Provide a plan of adequate scale, size, and detail to accurately and completely describe the site and propose work to be performed. Please provide a map with all of the above listed items included. The guidance document also states that the Department of Fish and Game should be consulted prior to filing an NOI. The written input is important, and I have seen people get fish in Buzzwell Pond. It should be noted that Buzzwell's Pond is also mapped as having diadromous fish migratory habitat. So I particularly would like the diadromous fish people at DMF review this proposal. And Natural Heritage has not yet responded, and when they do, please provide their response.
Okay.
Yeah, the guidance document also says that significant increases in indigenous plant species, if strongly linked to human activities, may also be considered a nuisance vegetation. I didn't see anything, and I'd like to see some explanation for what is the basis for classifying the native aquatic vegetation as a nuisance. What's the link to the strong link to human activity? I'd also like to see more analysis in the NOI about how the proposed project meets the Ecological Restoration Limited Project criteria in 310 CMR 10.54 4A through D as required. I know Appendix A has a checklist, but it's just a box check about, that it does meet the criteria. I'd like to see some analysis explaining how it meets the criteria for that to be included in the document itself. I'd like to see some analysis of expected impacts of the chemicals on Freshwater Cove and anything downstream of the outlet of the pond. And if there are any conditions, I know this is mentioned, but I'd like to emphasize conditions that any pesticide use permit and year-end reports be filed with the agent, and the application of herbicides can only be done by licensed persons.
Bello.
He got it all for me. Good.
Member Jackson.
I have nothing to add.
I might, I guess the only additional thing I had is that, this proposal, kind of leans on the eutrophication. And I was wondering if there was any, measurements or documentation of, low oxygen level, actual eutrophication events.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner? Evan, do you have enough? Got everything?
I think so. So, the only thing that I think is worth answering right now is that I believe the safety data sheets were all included in the NOI application.
Okay, we'll recheck, thank you.
Yep, they're all at the end. I know it was a lengthy report, but those are all there. My marching orders are to consult with DMF, wait for the natural heritage letter, provide a more detailed narrative on how the native vegetation is classified as nuisance as it relates to human activity, provide a more detailed narrative on how this meets the criteria of an ecological restoration limited project under the Wetlands Protection Act, provide some analysis and information on if there will be downstream impacts to the cove, and provide information on any baseline studies or measurements of eutrophication.
And I'd also mention a map showing the distribution and density of target and non-target plants and all inlets and outlets to the water body, including any control structures, and provide an overall plan of adequate scale, size, and detail to adequately and completely describe the site and proposed work to be performed.
Okay, Commissioner Sargent, does that involve an actual hiring of a surveyor, or can we mark up the aerial in more detail?
I would be fine if it were accurate. Right.
Okay, thank you.
One last thing from me is a long time ago, I'd say almost 15 years ago, we did a small program with Bill Manuel for Niles Pond. We were dealing with eutrophication and overgrowth in general. And I think we did scorched earth on that project. It was the first time we ever did it. And it seemed, it probably would be too aggressive here, obviously, but I would look at other alternatives as other commissioners have discussed. But Bill might be a good asset to talk to about that. Bill Manuel.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, commissioners? All right.
When do you want to continue to, Karen?
The October 9th, please.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283019 at 32 Stillington Drive to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Bella. Member Bella.
So you know,
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
you. Okay, we have a couple of RCOCs. We have a couple of RCOCs.
Yep. Both of those look good to me. So I think those are good to go.
Okay.
Hey, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve RCOC 0282766 at 86 Rocky Neck Avenue, Rocky Neck, and RCOC 0282807 at 16 Sumner Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Correct.
Can't hear you, Rob.
Excuse me?
Couldn't hear you.
Oh, we have one more, correct?
I've got a couple of the violation issues. I'm not seeing Mary Rimmer here. I know the first 6 Stanwood was previously continued to our next meeting, but 4 Stanwood Point had not. So I assume we can talk to her in our next meeting there as well. That's still awaiting resolution on the expired order of conditions. Let's see, 14 Fort Hill. I believe there's been some additional resolution, but nothing. I don't know that anything's been signed yet. So I will follow up with them. I think they're close to having a agreement with the neighbor on what's going to happen there, and then obviously they'll need to come and have to be approved by the commission before they can implement that planting on that property as well.
Okay.
I believe Mark Arnold is here to speak about the buffer zone planting plan for 227 Atlantic.
So, oh,
Good
there you are.
evening. Good evening. Thank you so much. This is Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant. I'm going to share my screen. So just a quick summary of where you've been. Violation order was issued in regards to compliance with wetland replication and violation of work in the buffer zone in regards to order conditions at this property. We submitted a replication plan that the commission reviewed and approved. There was some discussion as part of that plan about trees being restored as part of the grading in the replication area. This is the follow-up to that replication plan. So we now have a replication plan that's been looked at. Now we have a buffer zone plan to be looked at. So I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what's there. This is the document that we submitted, and this is the figure that's in that document. And it shows you basically the nutshell of what actually happened in the buffer zone that was not part of permitted activities. So in this figure, you'll see several different colors. The pink area is the replication area that we previously discussed. The green area on the right side is an area buffer zone that was partially cleared of vegetation. Many trees were preserved, but the shrub layer was wiped out. The herbaceous layer was also kind of damaged as part of the project. And since they didn't have a cleared limit of work and they cleared more than they needed to. So that's that green area there. That's about 6,600 square feet. The area on the left side of the driveway has 2 shades. One is a darker orange green area, and then the other area is red. So this is basically showing an overlap of areas. So the area of orange is the area that was unpermitted work in the buffer zone. The area in green is an area of restoration of buffer zone that was permitted to be impacted. And the area of red is an area that we are looking to keep permanently impacted. So that way there's access to the utility boxes that were installed in the buffer zone. This plan results in a net increase of 50 square feet of buffer zone being naturalized versus compared to the approved plan. So the purpose of the buffer zone plan is to restore as much buffer zone as possible where it was supposed to be left preserved, but also avoid digging up and disturbing existing utility lines and boxes that have already been run in. So we worked with the applicant to figure out what we could do to kind of restore maybe some buffer zone along the driveway that was supposed to be disturbed in a compensation manner. So in terms of the buffer zone on the left side, you have 2,850 square feet restored in place. And then we have another 300 square feet of additional buffer zone restoration in areas that were permitted to be disturbed that we're going to actually put back to natural buffer zone areas. So you end up with a net positive buffer zone area of 50 square feet on the property. So there's no loss of buffer zone disturbance on the property itself. The only change is the fact that we have this red utility access line down this corridor. The goal of the restoration area is to restore the area back to natural buffer zone conditions to the maximum extent practicable in in planting trees and shrubs. We took that into consideration in both areas based on what trees are there, what not trees are there, etc. So the area on the left side has a lot more trees and shrubs density wise per square foot because it's an area that has no trees and shrubs existing. The area on the right side, which is all green, has a full density of shrubs based on the full area and a reduced layer of trees because we already have quite a few large mature trees already in there, although we did round up because of the trees being lost within the replication area. So we are mitigating for that loss. The other thing that we are doing as part of this restoration is we're moving some of the landscape plantings that are within the area around the utility boxes, and we're bringing them closer to the utility boxes. And the goal is to create a hedge around these utility boxes that creates a corridor from the driveway to the back box that creates a demarcated area for them to have access to the boxes. And then it creates a barrier to the other areas around it, which is going to be restored to the buffer zone. So we're taking the plantings that are there, moving them closer in to reduce the amount of permanent landscaping while also creating a better barrier to the electrical utility boxes. Buffer zone plantings are in two different tables, and that's because there's two different areas that we're dealing with. So the first area here, totaling 3,150 square feet, which is the 280/50 plus 300. We have 12 trees and 36 shrubs. And then in the 6,650 square foot area, we have 24 trees and 70 shrubs. These densities are based on using the DEP guidelines for wetland replication density plantings per shrubs and trees. In terms of you take the square footage, you divide it by an area by an average of 10 square for the diameter of trees and shrubs. You do an area of shrubs and they do an area of trees. So this overlaps. The idea is to overlap canopy in terms of plantings. We also specify using the New England Conservation Wildlife seed mix for both areas to restore herbaceous layer to stabilize the soils. The last thing in our restoration plan that we did include is doing some work in the along the driveway. So we talked about that during our site walk with some of the members and Chuck, was to basically remove a lot of the gravel that's kind of on the stones. It's going to potentially wash down towards the bottom of the slope, which could eventually be into the wetland or buffer zone, and also cleaning up the bottom of that slope where there's been a little bit of gravel movement down there. So that's part of that in terms of our goal is to have that all done by hand. And the goal is to have that reviewed by Goddard Consulting's wetland scientists or erosion control expert like me to make sure that that's all cleaned up so that we have basically compliance along those slopes in terms of supposed to be an armored slope with like loose soil. That's our plan, is to get that into compliance by just doing minor cleanup there and making sure that it gets supervised versus just kind of said the applicant said do it and they say that it's done, but it's not done right. So the goal is to have someone check that and supervise that before you guys come out to make sure it's done thoroughly and carefully to make sure there's no further impacts while they're also removing that material. So that's the buffer zone plan in a nutshell. Sorry, it was a little fast, but I wanted to keep it short and it's been a long meeting for you all. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to take those at this time.
Commissioners? Why don't you do roll call, Chuck?
Yep. Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Sargent.
Yeah, during the site visit, it was observed that some rocks had rolled into the culvert, obstructing the flow. Please have them removed. And because this is a restoration project that's part of an enforcement order, I would like there to be an extended period of time for the monitoring of mortality of plantings, maybe 3 to 5 years.
Member Terry.
No comments.
Member Bella.
Nothing else to add?
Member Jackson.
Nothing to add.
Okay. I guess we're all set.
So I have so in terms of the culvert stones, those will get removed. They are on my mental list of everything along those slopes to make sure they're cleaned up. So this is why I want to make sure that in our memo we specifically list that we're inspecting to make sure it's done versus just saying this is what's going to be done. That way you know that it's not just going to be done by some crew and then they think it's all done. It's going to be checked by someone who actually understands the sensitivity of the area. In terms of the monitoring, we do have in our plan 2 years of monitoring, which would be through 2026. Because this is 2024, we wouldn't be installing until the if we installed this fall, we'd be 2025, 2026. So you'd get 2 full growing seasons, not like a spring installation and you get a fall as your first year. So you're gonna get 2 full years of monitoring. So that's typically what's sufficient for a wetland replication. And we'll be doing that for replication and buffer zone. So unless the commission has a request to do that further, which is beyond typical regulation guidelines, we'd like to keep that to 2 years, but you will get full 2 years. So you won't see a certificate of compliance to close out this order until the fall of 2026.
In our experience, restoration is longer than a 2-year monitoring. 3 to 5 years is typical.
Mass DEP only allows orders and conditions to be good for 3 years, and so that's why they do 2 years. So if you're set after for 5 years, you're automatically going to be, you should be issuing orders and conditions that are good for 5 years. Otherwise, it seems burdensome on an applicant to request monitoring beyond beyond their permit's actual period. So I'm not sure if your bylaw has that language of allowing you to issue orders conditions longer than 3 years, so that way you can fold that in. But 3 years is also difficult because you get an order of conditions, depending on the time of year, you have to wait 6 months, and then you can't get 3 years before the permit elapses. And they
This
have
this can be a continuing condition of the certificate of compliance, that there be an additional monitoring period.
This is also an enforcement order, not an order of condition, so it's a different standard. I think we have discretion. I don't know if there's a time limit on enforcement orders, but we have discretion in enforcement.
I mean, I think I would request that if you want more than 2 years, that be evaluated at the end of the 2-year period. And that forces the applicant to ensure that they're extra careful to ensure that these plantings stay healthy for 2 years and are really robust, and the areas are really restored in a manner that's really successful. That usually gives the applicant enough of encouragement to keep up with things versus let them lapse, which can cause restoration areas to be weaker than standard conditions. So I would request that if the commission would consider that this be kind of tabled. Again, this is part of an enforcement order, so that can be tabled and extended if necessary, in terms of your requirements to ensure the areas are restored fully.
Okay. All right. I think we got it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nice and detailed. Love it. Okay, commissioners, anything else to ask you, gentlemen? Mr. Arnold, before we move on?
I think you need to vote to approve this plan to allow it to move forward. I do agree that since this is an enforcement order, if in 2 years it looks good and the commission is willing to accept it, then we can discuss it at that time. If it doesn't look good and needs more time, it's up to the commission to then say, we're not going to release this enforcement order until it meets, the expectations based on the plan.
I'd like to say that with Fort Hill Ave, the restoration project, was permitted for an extended monitoring period for 3 to 5 years.
It's the discretion of the commission. It is an enforcement order, so it's not an order of conditions.
I don't think we need to bother Mr. Arnold with this. We can keep going without, if he needs to go to bed or something. I don't know if he needs to continue. Are we voting on this, or?
I think if the commission's good with the proposed plan, they could vote on to approve the plan.
Okay.
Want to amend it to change the monitoring period. That's your discussion.
What are we doing, everybody?
Dave, would you be comfortable with the extension of it after 2 years, or do you want it 3 to 5? Is that your wording?
Well, consistency is the most legally defensive, position to take. And if I think we should be consistent in this, the way that we've approached Fort Hill Ave. Otherwise, Why did you change it?
Okay.
The commission has the discretion to extend to deny a COC request because of a lack of successful buffer zone restoration. So that is the commission's prerogative, and so you can extend monitoring by saying, you know what, it doesn't comply with our standards for restoration. You need one more year of monitoring, and that can be the commission's discretion, and the applicant has to accept that. So we'd request that be the process. So that way we have 2 full years of monitoring, and then if the commission isn't satisfied or wants one more year, I think you can request at that time. And I think that gives the applicant the ability to work hard to show that success can be achieved in 2 years if you do it right with the right people and the right methods and the right amount of monitoring, which is what our goal is.
I will be voting against this if that's your position.
Can we poll the members?
Sure. Member Sargent?
No.
I'm sorry. No. I meant whether you want to do 2 years with an extension or whether you want to do 3 or 5. That's what I wanted to poll.
I would be happy with 3 on the lower end rather than 5.
Okay.
Member Missouri?
The plan says, looking at page 6, several monitoring reports shall be prepared for the buffer zone restoration area by qualified wetland scientists for a period of 2 additional years after installation, or every year until a COC is issued by the Conservation Commission. I would be fine with changing the 2 to 3 years and then keeping the sort of option open for every year after that until we deem it sufficient to issue a certificate of compliance.
Good with that. I'm good with that.
Member Jackson?
Yeah, I could be good with that.
Dave, can you handle that one, or you still?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the plan submitted in Enforcement Order 2402 at 227 Atlantic Road, with conditions previously discussed and including the removal of rocks in the culvert and a 3-year monitoring period with the ability to extend that year by year if it does not meet the commission standards for thriving.
I second that.
Roll call. Member Sargent?
Yes.
Member Terry?
Yes.
Member Gullah? Member Gullah?
Rob? Okay.
Member Jackson?
Yes.
Why that keeps happening. Okay, I guess we're all set. Mr. Arnold, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
And if you can provide a revised plan with that change, I don't know if he's still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. The change as worded says that it's 2 years plus until a COC is issued. So if a COC is not issued, we are required to submit reports every year, spring and fall, to this commission. So if we could avoid changing the document, the enforcement order can be updated accordingly if necessary, but the document, I think, does kind of provide that scope. We word it specifically because we have to be flexible with the commission's COC issuance. So we want to make sure it's still monitored every year, even if it's not issued, which is not 2 years. So I can do that for 3 years if you want, but the wording does provide that flexibility already.
I believe the vote was including that change to change that 2 additional years to 3 additional years.
Okay, I will discuss that with the applicant and get you a revised one accordingly.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. That was a long one. Chuck, remind me at the next meeting, I'm gonna have to start putting time. You know, I'll give I talked to the attorney, what's her name? The attorney. I'm gonna start putting 10 minutes.
Suzanne?
She basically told me to just start putting, 3 minutes per talk or whatever we decide. We just have to be consistent. I need to be consistent. So in the future, I might have to just limit some of these conversations. Just too long.
Yep. So we do have the final one tonight is 73 Wingersheek Road. I believe Ken Kaplan is here. I'll promote him now. And just to refresh your memories on that, this is another situation of use of ATVs through the dune and onto the beach area. It's not quite as problematic as some other areas that we've seen. There still is, intact vegetation in the center of the path. But this was, brought to our attention and continued attention from some of the shorebird monitors that were down there this summer. Concerns about plover nesting.
Yeah, well, if we could get a few more commissioners, a few more agents for you, how are we gonna monitor? Pretty sad, but no way we can. Where is he, this gentleman, Ken Kaplan? Is this a picture from his property or?
Those are pictures from the beach in front of his property and towards his property. He did provide some additional photos and a document that he sent.
Okay, as long as, I get it. Yeah, that'd be helpful. Whatever people can give it is helpful. So, but it's tricky. It's just, again, gone bad. Bill's gone over this 1,000 times. All right, I've babbled enough. You ready to adjourn?
Well, so Ken is here. I guess, how does the commission want to proceed with this particular? Yes.
I would send him a violation letter.
We did. He's here tonight.
Oh, that's the violator?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
I'm muted. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. My name is Ken Kaplan. I live at 73 Wingersheek Road. I've lived there since 1983. I received this letter and I called Devin about it as instructed. And she told me the reason that she had sent me the letter specifically was that she noticed some dune grass had been bent over at the end of our very well duned protected path, which we've been using. Actually, it's been in use, the same path, and you can see it on GIS photos since 1953. So I guess, and what I think the objection from what I can understand, and I'll try to keep this as short as possible, but it's difficult. It's a long story. So thank you very much for spending the last 4 hours, and I've listened to it. As we take an ATV over the dune to launch a boat half a dozen times a year. The boat sits on the beach all summer and has for many, many years. It's a small 17-foot motorboat with a small engine. And we launch it into the water, which we've been doing since 1989. And that was it. Over the years, we've tried different ways to improve the dune, including we had 2 raised walkways, which we have photos of, which were covered with sand because we're fortunate to have great northwest winds. Those were permanent. So what we did the last time, and that what you're seeing is in the last 20 years, we removed those and used the same path. And you can see on our photos, and I think the photos that Chuck can present to you, that we drive over this path, and you'll notice that there's 2 20-inch approximate paths left with dune grass in the middle. So it's a 6-foot wide total. And that's how we get to the beach. And the dune grass has thrived. The dune grass is now 75, the dune is now 75 further into the ocean, or further out to the ocean than it was after the 2000 storm, after the perfect storm in 91. And I think, I don't know what else to say besides this is a 70-year period of time that we have records of, that this area, for whatever reason, and it's certainly not my reason, has increased and recovered from every major storm we've had since 1950s.
Okay.
And it's much healthier than it was. So I know there's, you know, the pictures can't show you everything, but this is, you know, I can document it. Thank you.
Okay. In general, it's the problem we have, and I'm going to be very brief because we're all very tired. It's not really the fact that, first of all, launching boats, we've been trying to figure this out for a long time. Who can launch, what they can launch, when they can launch. We've been getting guidance from both sides. We got to go. I'll go down and talk to Suzanne. We need some resolution on this, one way or the other, from the state, from our people. But that being said, in the future, the problem is not necessarily you. There's obviously some damage to the vegetation was done by somebody, these photos. That being said, whether it was you or somebody else, when people see one person get on an ATV or launch your boat, everybody starts launching boats, riding it, you know, these vehicles all over the place. So it might not be you, but we get these all the time. I get a call a day, basically either fires on the beach or people driving ATVs on the beach. So it's gonna, I think at this point, you sound like a reasonable human. I wouldn't do anything else for right now until I talk to the city solicitor and try and get some clarity on this thing for our future, for us and for you. Just be patient because I don't know how long it'll take.
Okay.
Plus, luckily, we're out of the beach season, so.
And these are also impacts, though, to, you know, the nesting bird habitat and stuff like that. So, you know, that if these are activities that are ongoing, they need to be reviewed and permitted by Natural Heritage and other parties. So, you know, if there's activities in place to continue, if it's a situation where an NOI needs to be submitted, so there's proper review of it and proper conditioning of it to have, you know, sort of a beach management plan for, you know, how they intend to, you know, impact by these activities.
Yeah, Commissioner Gull, I understand the issues, and I think it's very difficult because when I read the state outlines for UTV, utility vehicle use, it says make sure you don't damage anything on the dune specifically. And that's a prohibited use. And that's why I was addressing the fact that the dune grass grows. In terms of the birds, don't disturb wildlife. It's also mentioned in there in terms of utility vehicles. So it's a very tough thing to get a definitive answer on, I think, and we'll succeed. And it's a much bigger issue, I think, than we can solve here. And that's, you know, it's a state issue, as you mentioned. So I will hold on, and I will, you know, I'm done with the beach, with the boat for the season at this point, so it's not an issue. And I appreciate your comments.
Okay, we appreciate your understanding our situation. But yeah, if you could hold off on doing anything else, maybe we can get something resolved by the next summer that helps everybody. I don't know, but it's a big problem. We're not going to solve it tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if there's proposed activities for next summer, you know, probably submitting an NOI, so it's, you know, review from the agencies and stuff like that. So these are permitted activities.
Yeah, that would be the next step, is to try and protect yourself by doing the right things, filing.
Yeah, I'll talk to Chuck about this. I think you've been here long enough tonight, and I appreciate it for, you know. So we'll go on, and good night, gentlemen. Thank you, and ladies. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, or what's left of everybody. You look exceptionally spry tonight. I mean, you're really popping. You're not tired? I'm exhausted.
Yes, I'm exhausted.
All right, Chuck, we'll follow up with Mr. Kaplan. I know what you're saying now, and you're right. I think we could probably write a letter. We'll talk later. All right, who wants to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Materi,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
It's good we still have a quorum for this vote, because otherwise we'd all just sit here.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.